All right, welcome in to episode 16 of Two Man Game. I am your host, Damon, and with me back on Zoom, not in person, sadly, back in LA, my good friend, my co-host, Dom. Dom, I hope Texas treated you well. How are you feeling being back home?
What up? It was great to be back home in Texas to see you in person and many friends and family. I was back for a wedding and that was a very nice time. It's good to
Shout
be
out
also back in LA.
blank and
I
blank.
got
Where I
out.
married. Oh, I
Oh,
said
shout
shout
out
out.
to yeah, shout out to Mickey and Kyle to getting married. It was beautiful. Thank you for inviting me. But I brought the rain back with me to LA, which was pretty interesting because it notoriously never rains here. But I'm very excited to be back and also to talk basketball and watch basketball and have
You like
time for that.
basketball? Is that a thing? Or
I love basketball so much. I went to a game with my dad, and the next day, me and him went to go hoop. So
tell
even though it was like 50 degrees.
I see some white on your shirt. I see some white on my shirt. What's going on here?
All right, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yeah,
Unplanned.
it's the Houston Rockets Dunkstronaut.
Dunkstronaut. That's really good. I like that.
Yeah, that's what they called it. But
How'd you go about getting these shirts?
yeah, so when I was back in Texas, I went to a Rockets game, Rockets versus Pelicans, and it was a in-season tournament game. And it was a lot of fun. They had the item of the game was this shirt, and I had to get it from my man Damon.
Yeah.
Um, and it makes sense that you and I were both like, we both have to wear this on the pod the next time we do it. So, um, but yeah, that game was really fun. The Rockets won barely. It was a really close game, and it was really fun. I also went to Spurs and Raptors, and that was an overtime game. I think my first overtime game in like 13 years or something. Or maybe even like 20 years now that I think about it.
That's big.
But yeah, no, it was a really fun game. Raptors won, but it is what it is. It wasn't the Lakers, but I had a good time.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad we have matching shirts now. That's what
Of
matters.
course. Yeah, so last time we did city jersey rankings. So this is a shirt based on the city jerseys of the Rockets, of course. It is a design on their shorts, if you were unaware, which is one of the reasons we put the Rockets in the A tier. So it was like, oh, that's so good.
It's pretty
Um,
fresh. Also, in the middle of the court, it looks really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was actually tuning into some in-season games. This is Friday evening, by the way, November 17th, for listeners out there. Almost 2 weeks after our last pod, but our last pod was almost 3 hours long, so you got like 2 pods, 2 weeks worth of podding, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, and Dom was busy with weddings and all that, and being in Texas, and yeah, we gave you plenty last time. But I was tuning into some of the games, like I was watching the Hawks game a little bit before we
Yeah.
got on. I actually like their court. It's like the black and blue like accent
Yeah, I saw
that's
the
on
like the light
their jersey.
blue.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
It's
okay.
it, see, it's when they choose a color that looks nice, but some teams like I think Brooklyn, they already have a gray court, and now they just double down and have a gray court, and I'm like a
Some
darker
teams
gray
have
court.
red, and the red courts are really offensive to my eyes. It was
Yeah,
like
so
really
us
hard to
actually
look at.
the Rockets have a red
I
court, but
know.
the
I know.
crazy thing is at the so like the pictures and everything and the video looks insane, but actually being there, it was pretty cool. Not gonna lie. And also they had lights that matched up with the designs on the floor. Like the Rockets knew what they were doing. It was very cool. But I know like watching it is intense on the eyes. But it looks like most people like it. I was watching a game downstairs and my roommate came up and said, "Oh, that's a really cool court. I've never seen anything like that." I was like,
Definitely an attention grabber for sure.
yeah, so I get why they did it. But you have any plans to go? Do you want to go to an in-season tournament game? Or how do you like it so far?
Yeah, I do. I gotta figure out, what's the best way to go about it. I almost went to the Spurs Clippers
Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. You're right. It was a Spurs Clippers
Because
is
I
not
wanted
nearly
to
as
go.
entertaining. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I just couldn't find anyone that was like really dying to go, and I didn't really want to go alone. It's like an hour and a half from here, so I was like, I'll just
Yeah.
uh but
Yeah.
eventually, hopefully.
I get that.
We got
But yeah,
more
so
games are coming.
oh yeah, definitely. And so moving on from the in-season tournament and the jerseys we did last time, You know, since kind of quite a bit of time has happened, Damon and I talked, and we were talking that, you know, we honestly should talk about every team. We're going to keep it concise.
Just like for the
But I
standings.
think, yeah, for the standings, and then also we're also going to talk about, you know, what teams should be panicking or not. I mean, we're about like 11 12 games in for most of the teams, so that's, you know, like an eighth of the way through. So you know, it's getting, it's the in-season tournament definitely makes it exciting. And I love like the chippiness, which we'll talk about. There's definitely some chippiness going on in the NBA. Am I preaching? Is that why you're doing it?
I was doing this. I was doing this now.
Oh,
Some
you're doing that
chippiness,
now.
a little bit of chippiness.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. But yeah, so we're just going to talk about that each team, not in order because that's boring. We're gonna have a little wheel and we're gonna pick randomly and we're gonna talk about the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm excited. So much has happened, really.
Yeah, I think you said about 11, 12 games. So yeah, that's like an eighth way through the season.
Yeah.
And we're gonna, we're calling this the panic meter. And basically it's gonna be on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not panicked at all, not worried about that team, whatever they're however they're playing right now. 5 is like, oh my God, this is the worst outcome I could have expected for this season so far. Holy moly, what's happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, and 2, 3, and 4 is somewhere in between. We're going to try to do it. I said standings earlier. I was alluding to when we did the standing predictions. We did 1 minute per team and kind of went through it very quickly. I think we're going to try to do something similar here. Just kind of touch on every team a little bit, the stuff we've seen. A couple of news stories we'll probably hit along the way. I did want to say really quickly, if you are listening on Spotify, if you could, leave 5 stars, share with your friends. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course. All those things help us out. I literally think it's like 3 videos in a row. We've gotten one of 10s, which means like it's like the best video we've produced out of the last 10, basically. So
All
we're
right,
going up.
let's get it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
sick.
think the last one has like 15 views on YouTube or something, which is like that's pretty good compared to the 2 that we were getting for a while there. And
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for listening. And you know, actually I was showing this to my friends. Most people don't know that you can also watch us. So if you're not driving
yes,
and you are just at home and you want to watch two dudes who love basketball talk basketball, you could see our faces
look at
and
him.
see our
He's
matching
he's
shirts.
handsome.
Look at him.
Yeah,
He shaved his face for No Shave November.
I did. I shaved 2 weeks ago. And the last episode I was like basically completely clean shaven, and now I have 2 weeks worth of facial hair growth.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm super excited to talk about it and get into it.
I don't know. I'm sure as a person with a band, like about Spotify impressions.
Yeah.
We have 330 this month, so like that's pretty good for
Yeah, for just like
low.
not
Yeah,
really
yeah. We're not.
advertising it at all,
Yeah, we
really.
advertise our podcast on the podcast. So it's
Yeah,
like the
come on,
only way you
guys.
know it is if you're listening. And then like, the first 2 episodes were like showing it to our friends, and now we're just kind of rolling.
Yeah, well, you know, friends show friends, and whatever. But we appreciate y'all listening for sure.
All right, let me get this wheel pulled up here. Let me make sure our faces are still nice and visible for all the people out there.
Absolutely beautiful.
I actually want to be on this side of the screen.
All
Nope,
right.
I lied. I'm looking at it, and
Yeah,
I'm like, nope, I don't like. I think it's because of my camera. Like where my camera is, I look at a weird angle if I'm over there.
I know the exact same. So I have 2 monitors at work, not at home. So
Oh God,
2 monitor problems. So, but I'm good with one.
there's a little background music. Can you hear the background music?
No, I can't. Thankfully, you should mute it just in case at the bottom right.
I pressed music and it muted the sound effects. Okay.
Hey, but I like this. Okay, no, all right.
All right.
I can't hear anything.
We'll
So
roll
we're
the
probably,
effects. All right.
yeah.
You'll hear it in the watch back. All right. Let's see who we're starting with. Oh God, this sound effect is bad.
It's like glitching. I can't even Oh,
Hornets.
Hornets.
I'm gonna
Okay.
actually. What do you think? Do you think for pod purposes, for people just listening, do you think it's better to have the little silly sound effects, or do you think it's worse?
I think it's funny. Maybe do it for a little bit and then turn it off. It might get annoying. I just don't know the sound, so I
It's
can't
it's
give an
annoying.
opinion.
It is
Okay,
actually
turn it
annoying.
off. Turn it off. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so
Why?
Charlotte Hornets. Okay.
Why is this bar here? Go away.
What bar?
Um,
I don't even see what you're talking about.
Never mind. Okay. Charlotte Hornets. Yes. Who do you want to go first? Me go first? What's
Yeah,
happening?
I'll just go first and then you can
Okay.
hop on. So basically, Hornets are they're not doing great. LaMelo looks really good, although I still don't love like his play. Like I sent you a clip. He just carries the ball so much, and they're not calling that, but he is getting like he is really playing really well. I watched like the end of a game. It was a really close game. I think it was Mavericks and Hornets, and it was close for the very end, and LaMelo just kept making threes like out of nowhere. And he had like multiple 30-point triple doubles recently. But they're still like no one's really afraid of them. Panic meter is like a 1 because I don't expect them to be good. You know what I mean? Anyways, so I'm not like panicking about them. But yeah, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, going off LaMelo, he is having a really good offensive season. I think defensively he's bought in a little more, and that could be because of the impact of Steve Clifford. Um, and speaking of defense, I think Mark Williams has been really good for them this year. I also think Brandon Miller hasn't been great offensively, but I think he's played better defense than people probably anticipated. I also think Gordon Hayward has been pretty good so far. Maybe a trade candidate if they, like there's no real reason for him to be on the team. Like I feel like he wants to go to a contender probably to compete for a championship. I think he's probably too good to be like just a vet, on a
Yeah,
young team. And then lastly, they don't play defense, even though I just complimented their two guys for defense.
yeah,
They've given up over 120 in 7 straight games. But that's very like young, rebuilding team, I feel. Panic meter wise, I would say maybe like a 2, maybe a 3. I'll go with 2, mainly just because a lot of their draft picks haven't hit in recent years.
Oh, so you're
And
talking about panic meter not for this season, but just in general?
well, like for this season too, but I just feel like if you're in their position, it's like, we drafted James Bouknight, we drafted Kai Jones, we drafted, all these guys that have kind of, what like where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah,
We have LaMelo, and after that, it's like,
right,
I
right,
I
right.
did mention Miles Bridges is finally going to return because he was
Yeah,
suspended.
I read something about that too. Yeah, so they might, improve offensively there, but I don't know.
I think the season's going about as expected though.
Yeah, exactly. And but then I'm happy for Lamelo. I was gonna say Namelo.
LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, no, happy. I mean, he's playing well. He's hooping, so good for him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see who's next. I can eliminate them. Look, gone.
Boom. No more Hornets.
No more Hornets. Hornets are done. Who are we gonna get next? Instead of a sound effect, I'll just talk during the gap. The Clippers.
Oh, my
I'm
favorite.
I'm excited. I'm excited that I can go first in the Clippers.
Yes, go, 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 go.
Okay. So in Harden's 5 games, the Clippers are averaging 105 points. That's really bad. They're 0-5. That's really bad. Um, I think the Kawhi, Harden, Paul George, Westbrook, fit is not working. I think they're all way too ball dominant. And some of them are gonna have to kind of sacrifice in order for that to work. I did see a quote today actually that Russ volunteered to come off the bench. He said, I'm gonna come off the bench because otherwise it's not gonna work." So
Well,
I thought
that's
that,
awesome. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
glad he's yeah.
that's a great mentality to have. He just wants to win, and I think he realizes he's not MVP Russell Westbrook from 6, 7 years ago. So he's gonna take that role on, I guess. Um, I think Paul George has probably played the best out of all their players so far this
Yeah.
year. Even with the ball, which is interesting because to me, he feels like the person that would like be the best off-ball player. Based on his skill
Yeah.
set. Panic meter. My panic meter is at like a 4. I'm
Yeah.
very worried. I think this team has they invested a lot in Kawhi and Paul George, and then they invested even more in James Harden. They got no draft picks. They got no young assets, uh,
Expiring contracts all around.
and they're bad. So like,
Yeah.
what is there to look forward to? There's nothing. So
Yeah, also like what made them fun to watch, they kind of got rid of. So like when I saw them play a lot, it was always like, they would dribble toward the basket, pass it out to Robert Covington, and they shoot threes, right? And then they get rebounds or like and they had like enough they could share the ball. But now it's just so stagnant. Like they're just taking turns and that's so boring to watch. And like they're afraid to take shots and it's not working out for them. And I think we talked about in our Harden thing. Like my biggest thing about them was the depth, and I mean they have their bench isn't doing well either. Terrence Mann is doing okay. I think Russell Westbrook coming off the bench will help quite a bit, and I don't think it makes them the worst team in the West. Like I think losing five straight is because James Harden does not know how to fit into systems.
I
or
am the
anything.
system.
Yeah, ridiculous quote. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, my panic meter for them would be like 5. Just
Yeah,
because
it's
like
bad.
I'm comparing it, and it's like
Sure.
you just did this trade. You expected to you want to contend in the Western Conference, and you're losing 5 straight. Like, come on.
Yeah. 4 may have been generous. I
Yeah,
didn't know if I
but
wanted to throw a 5 in there already.
but I do
But
want to say I respect the quote from Russell Westbrook. That is good. Like I
yeah.
like hearing that. Like it's about the team at the end of the day, not individuals. So I mean, we'll see if Harden buys into that team play. And yeah, Paul George has looked the best out of all of them. But I also like I don't know if you saw like there seemed to be some like when you see them on the court and on the bench, they don't just seem to be like enjoying their company as much or anything.
That sounds
Like
very Clippers.
yeah. So it just
Did
sucks
you
to
see
see.
they picked up Daniel Tice? A
No.
buyout from the Pacers. Pacers bought him out because he wasn't
Yeah.
playing, and now he's going to be the backup center for the Clippers because, of course, Mason Plumlee was injured. So
Oh, he's in. Okay, that makes sense. I remember there was a lot of
you
talk
were
of
at that
like
game when Mason Plumlee got injured, right?
I don't remember him. It was very forgettable if he did. I,
Really?
I, I don't think so. No, it was Anthony Simons. I was at the game. That's what it was. But I didn't even notice him getting injured.
Just making
Um,
stuff up.
no, but no, you're good. You're fine. But yeah, it's definitely a 5 for me. And I don't. Daniel Tice isn't gonna really help with
The
that.
savior
But
of the season.
I'm happy for Daniel Tice. I mean, he just won a gold medal with
Yeah,
Germany.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
good
now
for
he's not
him.
playing.
All right, who we got next? Let's
The
see. Let's see.
Magic.
Okay, Orlando Magic. Okay, I've watched them a little bit because they play the Lakers a few times. The Lakers barely beat them the first time, and and the Magic blew them out the second time. First thing I want to say, Orlando Magic classic jersey is a dub. That is such a sick jersey. Keep
So
that around
good.
forever. Yeah, they're doing okay. I've watched a couple games. They beat the Hawks beat them in Mexico City, but then they had a really good comeback win yesterday against the Bulls. Paolo made the game-winning shot, which was pretty cool. Good for him. Yeah, Wendell Carter is out for. I didn't realize until I saw him sitting on the bench in Mexico City. I was like, oh yeah, I guess he's been out. But who has been playing really well? Who like I know like I didn't really know his fit, but Jalen Suggs has been playing really well like defensively and has been just like annoying as hell whenever I'm like watching him, and like that's really cool. Like I'm glad to see that for him. Like seems like he's kind of buying into that kind of role. And yeah, I mean they're still a young team. So I think they're floating a little bit above 500 right now, right? Like 6-5, something like that. I mean, for what they are right now, I think they're good. They're fun to watch for sure. And they were a team that I used to never like to watch, but I actually kind of enjoy watching them this year. So
Yes.
panic meter wise, like maybe a 2, but I'm like it's about what I expected from them.
Yeah. I think they've had a relatively rough start, not rough start, tough start in terms of schedule to
Yeah.
the season. And they played all right considering that. You mentioned Wendell Carter. Yeah, he had a head surgery. He's been out. They've been starting Goga Batadze at center. Goga Batadze, the guy that couldn't get minutes in Indiana when they were rebuilding. So not great that he's the starting center over there right now. You mentioned Suggs. His defense has been very good. He's been very valuable in that aspect. I was listening to a podcast and somebody was like, "Yeah, this is like a Drew Holiday light." I was like, "Wow." I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I
any
mean,
sort of defense you're getting in the backcourt is great because a lot of the other guys like Cole Anthony, people like that are not really
Markel
known for their
Fultz.
defense. So,
Um,
Cole Anthony, speaking of Cole Anthony, he's been coming off the bench as a 6-man role. We kind of talked when we were talking about the guards, ranking the point guards in the offseason. We are talking about, they got a lot of them, and he's kind of come off the bench and embraced that. And then the last person I really wanted to kind of touch on was John Isaac. He has like playing for the first time in like 3 years, and he's playing like defensive player of the year caliber. I was looking at some stats about his steals and blocks. He was like in the 99th and 98th percentile in like steals and blocks a season. I was like, okay, that's insane. He's like barely playing.
That's crazy. He did really well out of the top, like the minutes I watched of the Lakers games. He did really well. He was like in passing lanes with his hands, and
Yeah,
he was like
he is very
contesting
lanky.
Anthony Davis. Yeah, so even like against the Hawks, like I saw him like get a couple steals and stuff. So he looks really good too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think panic meter wise, I'm probably at a 1. Like I think Franz and Paulo maybe haven't taken the all-star or superstar jumps that some people may have predicted, but they're
Mhm.
playing fine. It's not like they're 2-10 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
it's their second year, both of them, right? So I mean, like it's
yeah.
they're still very good, and they're gonna get better. So
All right. Moving on.
yeah, keep the classic jerseys. I know you're listening to me, Orlando. Keep the classic jerseys, please.
Magic owner. We know, we know you're listening to the pod.
All right,
All right,
cool.
Pacers.
Take it
Good, good.
away.
Yes, I like the Pacers a lot. One of my favorite players for a long time, I feel, has been Tyrese Halliburton. That guy has been crazy. If I gave you 3 stats, the numbers are 58, 32, and 0. What do you think those numbers represent?
Like you would assume, I know what they are, but you'd assume they're like percentage, right? Like from the field, he's 58%, from the 3-point line, 30%. I don't know what
Yeah.
the zero would be.
So the numbers are he's scored 58 points, had 32 assists, and 0 turnovers.
Yeah, I
In like
saw
the
that.
last couple games.
It's
That
insane.
that man is a walking offensive machine, which is why they haven't scored less than 120 in 6 straight games. So far this season, they have the highest offensive rating ever in the NBA team ever. That's crazy, and they're still so young, so fun to watch. Just I feel like we both kind of predicted this, that they would be this kind of fun team. Maybe not this good. Like I feel like they're even better than anticipated. Panic meter is like a 0. I'm not panic at all. This is awesome so far. They should be very happy over there in Indiana.
Yeah, there's a couple of games I watched, just a couple of like the last minutes of a few games, and I watched them play the Bucks. And it was a close game. It was without Dame, but it was like Giannis and Halliburton were just going back and forth basically, and Pacers came out on top. And that was really cool to see. Instead of like the usual person you'd expect to win, not winning. So I think it was home, and they looked very comfortable, which is what I liked about the Pacers when I watched them, is that they're young, but they didn't look panicky. They were like, we're having fun, we're doing well. Obi Toppin looks great. Miles Turner looks great. Like, yeah, Halliburton, we can't see enough praises about him. So definitely happy for him. And yeah, my panic meter is probably like 0 or 1. I don't know if we had 0 on there, but yeah, I'm not
We
worried
didn't
about
have
him.
0 on there. I
Yeah,
said
I'm
it
not
because I was like,
worried.
I'm on the opposite end. I'm like thinking way too high.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want to say like I said, Hornets are like 2. Yeah, Hornets 2. Yeah, Pacers
Oh
1.
my. Well, and
Oh,
before we get to this team, I did want to say I think you and I are going to go see the Pacers and play the Rockets during Christmas break, right?
oh, that's gonna be very fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
probably.
going to be it. But all right, so Grizzlies. All right, now we're going to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. Um, the first thing I want to say is that they're the first team this year that the Lakers have blown out. Finally,
Let's go.
let's go. We're back, baby. We're back. They and so it was great is that the Lakers blew them out and they lost and they beat the Clippers. Like I cannot be.
The
I'm a
happiest
happy
man
man. I was a
alive.
happy man when the day that happened. Yeah, it's just obvious that they're missing all these pieces, and they're so undermanned right now. And even with Bismack Biyombo like on the team, like he's like it's like saying Daniel Tice, like the Clippers, like he's not gonna really do much, like he's not even that tall. So it's like it's just so hard to kind of watch. Like Desmond Bain is playing out of his mind, and Trey J
Very
is like
good.
having some issues, but like he's still playing very good. But is who you're surrounding them with: Luke Kennard, Zaire Williams. Like they're not. This is not what they signed up for. Like they're not supposed to be in these like starting roles. So I mean, it's just it's it sucks that they're doing this poorly. I don't know when Ja comes back if it'll even jump up that better. So I mean, panic meter wise, I guess like 5, because it's like, you know, well, maybe like 4, because you have like pieces like you have Desmond Bain, you have Ja, you have Jaren Jackson. So it's like they're not going anywhere. But it's like this season is kind of you're like 2-8, 2-9 right now. It's like it's tough to come back, you know.
Yeah. Do you know who Jacob Gilliard is?
Only because I watched a little bit of the Lakers game.
Yeah, he started. Um, that's crazy. They're missing Ja. They're missing Steven Adams. They're missing Brandon Clark. Also, I didn't put this, or actually did put this on the note. Marcus Smart today was announced out 3 to 5 weeks.
For what?
I don't remember, but it's like another issue. Another person's gonna be gone. They signed
Oh my
Bismack Biyombo,
god.
like you mentioned, who was literally sitting there for nothing. Um, they haven't been good. They beat the Blazers in a game without Anthony and Scoot and Robert Williams, and then they beat the Clippers after the Harden trade. So it's like that's your two wins. Everyone else has been destroying them. They don't play make because they don't have a point guard. Like they could really use a Tyus Jones right about now.
Yeah.
And they don't rebound because Jaren Jackson Jr. is tall and good as he is in defense, doesn't really rebound the ball very well. So you're not playmaking, you're not rebounding. It's hard to win that way. And the last thing I wanted to touch on with them, Zaire Williams, guy they traded up in the draft for 3 years ago to draft, hasn't developed. He had a really good rookie year for them when they made. I think that was the year they were like the 8th seed against the Jazz in the playoffs, and he was good. But since then, he kind of just stopped developing. And it sucks because the pick they traded up, they traded the next year's first round pick to move up, and then the Pelicans drafted Trey Murphy with that pick. So it's like, oh,
Who's a
that
stud.
that guy's
Yeah.
awesome. You could use him on your team. Yeah, panic meter. There's a lot of teams left. It's definitely a 5.
Wow.
But I like it might be the most panicked. I had them as the 11th seed. In our prediction videos, the biggest difference we had, and this is exactly what I was worried about. It was funny. I was listening to the Low Post, and I think Zach Lowe, it's a good podcast. He said this might be like an off season for them, like the Warriors when Steph broke his hand. And I said that's literally exactly what I said.
Yeah.
So Zach Lowe, listener of the podcast, confirmed, stealing my content. Confirmed.
Shout out, and give us our props, give us our dues. Also, so he's gonna miss 3 to 5 weeks with a sprained left foot. Also, I didn't know this. He's from Texas.
Yeah, I knew that.
You know what city?
Nope.
Flower Mound.
Yeah, wasn't a got that
Yeah,
one.
I don't know where that one is, but yeah. So Grizzlies 5. Yeah, they're the worst team in basketball right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Grizzlies and the Clippers so far have been the ones we are very panicked about.
Yeah, let's keep going.
And you thought the Clippers as an 11 seed was a hot take, and so far that has not been the case.
I'm pretty hot about that.
All right, let's talk about the Jazz. Jazz season have been weird. So they've beat teams like the Blazers and the Grizzlies, bad teams. But every like good team they played, they get blown out. I've noticed like kind of digging into their box scores and looking at that kind of thing. Their offense is okay. Jordan Clarkson has been scoring in bunches this year for them. But they don't have a lot of playmaking either. Keontae George has kind of taken on that role. But you're really feeling the absence of Mike Conley after they traded him last year right now because they don't really have any like natural point guards. Like all the people they run out there, Keontae George is a rookie. Colin Sexton is like 6'1", but plays more like a shooting guard.
Right.
So you're kind of missing those things. And then the reason they get blown out is because their defense has been very bad, especially because Walker Kessler has been out with an injury. So, their front court is like Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, Kelly Olynyk. not great defensive wise. Yeah, they had 2 other guys they drafted in the first round, Taylor Hendricks and Bryson Spall, neither of which have really made an appearance for them yet.
Yeah. So what's your panic meter at for him?
My panic meter for the Jazz, it's like a 2. I feel like maybe you're not getting everything you want from your pieces, but again, this is an expected rebuild team, so it's like they weren't going to be great anyways. The only reason I'm at a 2, not a 1, is like you wish their young guys are maybe playing more, and I can't identify the guy, like for other young teams, it's like, oh, that's the guy that like is going to be like your next thing. For the Jazz, there's a couple different options, and I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, they're kind of like throwing like spaghetti at the wall, seeing what's gonna stick type thing, you know. And yeah, I'm honestly I have not watched any Jazz basketball this year. I just haven't. And you know, you kind of said why. It just there's not really one to watch, and they're also not a team that's really going to be contending. And their jerseys are atrocious. So
Their
it's like,
jerseys
what
are
am
the
I
worst in
watching for?
basketball.
Surprisingly enough, though, in the in-season tournament, they tech in the same five tier like teams with like the Lakers and the Blazers. They're like 2-0, and the Lakers are 2-0. It's because they
Naturally.
beat the Blazers and the Grizzlies. So, but yeah, they have to still play the
Yeah.
Suns in the in-season tournament. But yeah, so I have nothing. I'm not like I would say like a 2 for the Jazz or 3, just because like at least they have younger players that you know, I think they're trying to figure out what's going to work, what they're not going to keep around for next year. Like, definitely need some playmaking. Walker Kessler coming back is going to be big for them. He's great. So, yeah, I didn't even know he was out. Shows how much I'm watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, they'll figure it out. They have a bright
Utah
future.
basketball.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. I was gonna be excited, but I guess we'll talk about the other Mavericks later. We'll talk about the Nuggets right
you're not
now.
excited?
Not as much as I love talking about the Mavericks. The Nuggets are, you guessed it, still very good. My panic meter is at a 1 or 0 for them. So it's crazy because so Jamal Murray's out for a bit, it's a few weeks, and they're still winning games.
Yep.
So you know, it just shows like the power of like having that depth and the power of Jokic and their
And the power
teams.
of Reggie Jackson, most
The
importantly.
let's be honest, it's Reggie Jackson. I actually was thinking about him earlier today. I was like, maybe like the Nuggets knew he was going to be better if he got paid more or something. I don't know.
He's been respectable as their kind of fill-in point guard for Jamal Murray.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, though, I'll let you kind of talk about it more because I'm sure you saw more, but they did lose to the Rockets, which was very interesting.
Mhm.
And even though they had good games, but the Rockets, I guess, just played better. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Nuggets at all.
Yeah. Yeah, they lost to the Rockets, even though Jokic and MPJ both had like 30 plus. I don't really know. The Rockets are just awesome. I guess that's why they lost. More on the Rockets
It's
later. We'll get to that
it's the
panic meter.
Dunkster Yeah, we'll get to that one.
It's the dunks or not. Yeah, I would say my worry is a 1 for the Nuggets. I mean, you got your second best player out, and you're moving along, winning most of your games still. I think the thing this does provide opportunities for is more more Christian Brown, more Julian Strawther, more Peyton Watson, those guys. So when the
Yeah,
playoffs come around, you have more of an idea if they're going to be contributors or not in that aspect, and I think that's really important. So, yeah, I am not worried at all about the Nuggets. I think for now they're still my pick to come out of the West.
yeah,
Because they're looking just as good as they looked last year, and I don't see any reason to doubt that. So
yeah, definitely. Let's see what we got
we
next.
haven't really
Yeah,
had any in the middle teams. We've either had like not panicked or oh my
or
god.
oh my God, someone call the police. Um,
Miami.
Interesting. Okay,
Um,
Miami
all
Heat
right.
culture.
I'm actually excited to talk about this. First of all, I hate the Heat culture thing. The jersey and the
No,
court.
no,
The
come
court, the
on.
monologue, terrible. Yeah, so they've been out with Tyler Hero. He has an ankle sprain. He's been out for a little while. And just like the playoffs last year, Tyler Hero goes out and these boys start winning. Duncan Robinson remembers how to play basketball. That's great. He's been really good this season, kind of like the bubble season when he was a big part of that finals run. He's kind of playing similarly right now. They started the season 1-4, so you may have been panicked, but they've won 7 straight. They're 8-4 now. And lately, like I originally when I was thinking about this team, I thought that Jimmy and Bam had kind of both been up and down, but they've both really turned it on lately. Jimmy has been great on offense, and Bam has been amazing on defense. The Heat games that I've watched and clips that I've watched, he is so present. He and his size and speed, it's like he can guard everybody basically.
Yeah,
He is very switchable, and that's been really big for them. And I think his offensive aggressiveness is like the most I've ever seen. Which is good because Bam used to just be like a handoff, run to the basket. Now he's shooting mid range jumpers. I know. I'm sure you've seen the clip or if you're watching the game when the Heat played the Lakers, he just walked up and shot a three in Anthony Davis's face and made it. And I was like, what basketball am I watching right now?
Yeah,
Um,
that was crazy.
yeah, I was like, I'm so confused. So
Yeah,
coming off a 7 game win streak, I mean, my panic meter has to be at a 1. I mean, these guys are playing good so far to start the season, and I think I had them pretty low, like the 8 or 9 seed or something like that. So definitely beating my expectations out so far.
yeah. The only Heat game I've really watched was the Lakers one, and they had a pretty respectable 10-point lead the whole game till the very end, which came down to one shot, which Cam Reddish missed. But the Heat were definitely playing better, and I'm so amazed by a team that their stars are Jimmy Butler and Bam. That's just it. That's it. There's no third star,
Right.
and they're even like supporting cast is not like the best role players in all of history, but they're winning games and they're playing
Vincent
good teams.
Vincent gone, Struce gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and even Hero out, like it's great. It's cool to see. I'd probably say my panic meter's at a 2, just because I don't know if it's sustainable. But
Sure.
Jimmy and Bam have been playing out of their minds, and
Yeah.
it is cool to see like that no matter everyone just doesn't bet on them, and then they make them pay for it basically, which
That's
is
the
pretty
whole
cool to
Heat
see.
culture thing. That's why they got
Yeah,
it on their stupid core. They probably love that
but
everyone hates it.
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, you hate it. Well, you're gonna see in the finals. I'm like, please God, no, I
Are
can't
they
see
are they
that.
gonna throw out in season tournament courts in the playoffs?
I hope. I doubt it, but they're going to be wearing the jerseys for sure, because those jerseys are like their city jerseys, so they'll wear those whenever, because
Right.
they'll wear it without the court too. So yeah, so we'll see the jerseys for a while.
7-1 in their games with Haywood Highsmith. I don't know if that's important, but
Oh, interesting. That's cool to know.
just so you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Good little fact there, little
Yeah,
factoid. So yeah, I'd say like
just full
2,
of facts.
just because I don't know how sustainable it's going to be, but I mean it's cool. It's
I
cool to
definitely
see.
agree with that. I don't think it's this sustainable, but I mean, so far you can't ask for a better start to the season.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see. Let's see.
Spin that
I was
wheel.
like, maybe I should have like wrote these down, documented, but it doesn't really matter. We can just go back and listen, I guess.
Wait.
Oh, like the panic for each team.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess we could do
The
that. Okay,
Wizards. All
Wizards.
right,
Woo!
I know you want to talk about the Wizards,
I
please.
can't wait to talk about the Wizards. Okay, so these Wizards, my favorite team to watch. Kidding. Um, they are it's such an insane team when you think about it. Like I remember you texted me when the season first started. They ran a scheme of Kuzma at center. I'm like, what is happening right
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
So yeah, so just real quick, Wizards are 2-10. They've just beat the Grizzlies and the Hornets,
Two
which
very bad teams.
yeah, and the Hornets was a very close game if I remember correctly, and the Grizzlies are undermanned as we know. They are just chucking shot. Jordan Poole's like highlight
Shot
clips are so
chucking.
funny. It
Shot
is so funny,
shoots
so
like
funny.
takes a step back three, shoots an air ball. It's like so good.
And I love like there was an interview with him before the season, like, oh, I'm glad I'm on a team where I can play the basketball, my brand of basketball. And so your brand of basketball is just throwing throwing the basketballs away,
It's
basically.
like the best player on like a middle school B team.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, like they're intriguing to me. So I would want to watch. Like I haven't really watched a game of theirs, and I would be intrigued to sit down and watch a game. So like my panic meter is it's weird because I knew that I kind of expected this. I am like a little surprised that like Tyus Jones isn't trying to. I feel like he's a serious player, so I kind of feel like he doesn't fit there. But I guess he didn't really know that going into the season. But my panic meter, I guess, is like a 3, but because I knew they were going to be this bad, and they don't really have a lot of they have some pieces that might be something, but maybe it's a 4 actually, just because they don't really have like a lot of draft capital as far as maybe they have some Suns stuff, but um yeah, I don't know. They're definitely one of the more polarizing teams, I think, in the league this year.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we talked about the Hornets, the Jazz, teams like that, other teams we'll get to later, we kind of gave them a 1 or 2 in the panic meter because we expected this season, this rebuild. For the Wizards, I also was between a 3 and 4 actually when I was thinking about it. I'm leaning 4, and the reason I'm leaning 4 is because no one's popping on their team.
Yeah.
Um, you got Jordan Poole out there shooting things. Is that guy ever going to be a contender, like a not a contender, but like a second or third best player on a championship team? Probably not the way he plays. He was a six man on the Warriors, of course, the year they won. But he
Yeah.
wasn't like one of their key guys. Um,
Yeah. Kuzma's gonna
Kuzma,
leave.
Kuzma,
I'd
yeah,
like,
Kuzma. I
yeah.
don't see, long term wise, I don't see really anyone else there. Kispert is kind of old already for when he was drafted. Avdia hasn't really popped. Johnny Davis has been a disaster of a pick so far. I am a little intrigued by Bilal Coulibaly. I think he's only averaging like 8 points, but his defense has been really good, which is nice. It's just like again, he seems more like a role player rather than like a
Yeah.
guy. And they don't have a guy that's I mentioned that for the Jazz, but even like the Jazz have Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks, and like we still got to see what those people are. I feel like
And you got
for
Walker Kessler too, and
right,
and you just had the Laurie Markkinen. So like exactly what do the Wizards have?
the Wizards have like Cool Bali is the only guy that I feel like I don't know what that guy will be. Whereas I feel
Yeah.
like the Jazz have 4 or 5 of those guys. The Wizards have one, and I think his ceiling is not super high. So it's just like yes, you're finally rebuilding, thank goodness, but what do you have to show for it so far? So far, it's not a lot.
Yeah. And also like, yeah, I'm like, I wish that Denny Avdia was like fitting in more in, the NBA. Just doesn't seem like he's going to be more than what he is now. Like I hope he can be, but again, he's like role player. Like he's not going to be an all-star or anything like that.
Right.
So
And this is
yeah.
the like third or fourth team that we talked about that just doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
I mean, they get 130 score on them every day.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, they lost by 50 to the Celtics, right?
That
I
was
think
the
that was
Pacers that lost by 50 to the Celtics.
they that Wizards pretty sure lost by 50 to somebody. I think they lost by 50 to the I think they lost by 50 to the Pacers, actually.
That checks out.
Yeah, it was something like that. But yeah, it's just yeah, definitely like a 4. I kind of sucks because they are a team that no one talks about, so it'd be cool if they were kind of sneaky good, but they're just not.
They're yeah. I mean, it's if you're watching Wizards basketball and having a good time, I'm sorry, something's wrong with
Apologies.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sacktown.
Oh, Sacktown. Okay, cool. I actually just watched them play. That's what I was
Yeah.
watching downstairs. I was watching them play the Spurs, and they won. It got close toward the end, which is very interesting. But you go first. This is your pick.
Yeah. They're on a winning streak. The last time I kind of checked in on them, like yesterday, 2 days ago, 4 straight. 3 of which I think are pretty good teams in the Thunder, the Cavs, the Lakers. I know you mentioned in a previous pod, the Kings play the Lakers, they're gonna win. So that seems to be true so far. I think they're glad to have De'Aaron back. I think Sabonis has been fine this season. Keegan Murray, I think, has been pretty good. The person I was most excited about so far is Kevin Huerter because he had struggled a lot in the series, playoff series against the Warriors last year, and this year I think he's kind of came right back into form, um, and that's really good. Yeah, I think for the Kings, continuity is key for them. I think they're trying to just kind of keep developing their own guys. They didn't really make any big offseason moves or anything like that, and I could definitely see them, being a top 6 seed once the end of the season comes around. I think they're good enough to do that. I mean, my panic meter for them is like a 1, I guess. I'm not panicked at all. I think this, they haven't shown any big regression or anything like that, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I also another name, Malik Monk, has been playing very well too. Kind of still doing a 6-man role, and even when Fox was out, he started, and they lost to the Rockets twice, but I guess they just didn't know how to run the system without De'Aaron Fox. Like I think he's pretty vital, but since he's been back, they've been looking really good. They beat the Lakers pretty handily. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I just watched them play the Spurs. It was close toward the end, but De'Aaron Fox is still clutch. He still came in clutch and like just made these shots that
Reigning
like
clutch player of the year.
yeah, he just made these angles at these layups, and I was like, I don't know how he got that up there and in, but yeah, I'm not worried about the Kings at all, and they're still very fun to watch. Sabonis is playing great, and yeah, I'd probably say 1 as well. But as long as I just hope that whatever was bugging Fox, like it doesn't bother him. I think it was a sprained ankle or something. Like Hopefully, no injuries or
Yeah, I
anything.
hope it's not lingering for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not worried about them. They're fine.
You are going to be worried about this next team, even though I don't know what it is yet.
Oh, but
Um,
we're gonna be worried. Oh, it was almost the Lakers.
it was almost a team, not the Lakers, but it was almost a different team that I'm very worried about.
Yeah. All
But
right, New York
tell me about the New York
Knicks.
Knickerbockers.
So the New York Knicks, I've watched a few games of theirs. This has been a very strange season because like they've won some. Every game they've won has been kind of close, and every game they've lost has been not super close. Their offense gets stagnant sometimes, and that's what happens when you have Julius Randle on the team, and he is not playing very well. The good thing is RJ Barrett looks good. From what I've seen, and he's making shots. Jalen Brunson is doing Jalen Brunson things, but it's just the Knicks are like just kind of like in the middle of the pack, and we expect them to be a little bit better. I wonder if they're gonna kind of turn it on at some point, but it seems like they're just kind of coasting. I don't know what they're kind of waiting for, but I maybe say like a 3, just because I don't think this is them. I remember last year they were kind of the same, and then after the All-Star break they just like turned it up. So maybe it's going to be something like that again. Hopefully Julius Randle can get his feet under him, and yeah, I'd probably say a 3.
Yeah, Randall, he has been getting better lately. I know I made the note that he hadn't been playing great and he wasn't playing great, but I think we talked about that last pod. But he's been better as of late. He's been scoring more. He's been I saw a clip where he was hyping up a teammate that like made a 3. He was like, yes, like he's kind of, I guess, trying to take on that leadership role, which is good. You definitely need that on your team.
Yeah.
Even though they're in the middle of the pack, a lot of the teams they've beaten are bad. Like they've beaten the Hornets, they've beaten the Spurs, they've beaten the Clippers. But every team they've played that's like good, they usually lose. I think they beat the
Yeah.
Cavs too without like 2 of
That
their
was in the
guys.
early. Yeah, that was early without
Um,
Darius Garland. Yeah.
right. So yeah, RJ has been good. Brunson, I think, has been good. The thing I worry about with the Knicks, with their team is I wonder if they'll get to a point, like how I feel like we both feel about the Bulls and the Raptors, and maybe even a couple of years ago how we may have felt about the Wizards or the Pacers, teams that are kind of in the middle of the pack but clearly not good enough to be a contender. I feel like the Knicks are better than those teams. I still don't know if that's good enough to justify like paying RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson all this money and just kind of being a second round exit every year. That's the thing I worry about. Panic wise, yeah, I would say like a 3, I guess. Like, and it's not really because of them. I just feel like, with the team they have constructed, they obviously want to contend in the playoffs, but you look at how the Celtics have played so far, the Sixers have played so far, and it's like, you really think you got a shot against those guys? I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
like basically, what do you do in this season? What's the point of it? Is kind of like right. They're right in the middle for me. So yeah, I think the 3 makes sense.
Yeah. I was thinking about going to go see like a Knicks game here against the Clippers,
That'd be
and
so expensive.
yeah, the Knicks game, like it was to see the Knicks are just so expensive for whatever reason.
Yeah. Good luck going
But
to a Knicks Lakers game.
oh yeah, not at all. I was thinking about going to the Rockets Clippers game tonight.
Mm.
Tickets weren't that much, but I was like, I'd rather pod with my
I don't know.
boy.
You could have seen the in-season Clipper court. That'd have been
Which
interesting.
actually I don't hate. I actually don't hate their city jersey, which we talked about in their core. But to watch 4 guys fight for the basketball, I'm good.
To watch the Rockets win their 7th straight.
For real.
More,
Actually,
more on that later.
that would feel pretty great. Okay, Pelicans. Okay,
The
interesting.
Pelicans. All right. Yeah. So the big thing for the Pelicans, CJ McCollum has a collapsed lung.
Crazy. I
Again,
read that and was
second
like,
time.
that's crazy.
Happened to him a couple of years ago. Yeah. So really unfortunate. Definitely hope he gets better soon. But because of his injury, they've lost 5 straight. To the Mavs, Rockets, Wolves, Nuggets, and Hawks. All elite teams, of course, especially the Rockets. Trey Murphy, of course, we talked about this already. He's been out. He hasn't come back yet, missing his shooting. I think my panic meter for these guys is actually high. I think it's like a 4.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I don't think their team works. Like I had one of the ISO episodes I had in the off season was when I asked a question about every team, and my question about the Pelicans was like, when will you get to see the on court Pelicans? And we've seen the on court Pelicans, and I don't think it works. I don't think Ingram and Zion are a star combination that works together very well. And I just kind of like I just talked about the Knicks. It's like I just don't see them being a contender, like a really serious contender. And I don't think they'll be bad enough to where they're rebuilding. They'll just kind of be in the middle and like, yeah, if you get to the playoffs and get knocked out in the first round, I can see that. But is that what you want? Probably not.
Yeah, so I agree with you. The only thing I'll say is that I think the talent is there. What they're missing though is that shooting. So like what I especially when I watched the Rockets, I was like, oh, like, you know, Brandon Ingram would go like toward the basket or Zion, and then they would kick it out to Jordan Hawkins, or
That guy's
like
been really good. I shouldn't
he
have
has
said.
been he has been really good. He has been really good. But it's like, okay, he's a rookie. And then you're passing it out. Brandon Ingram's taking threes. It's like it's just not really in their game. Like you're really missing like that defensive presence too from like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. So it's like if they're there and also CJ, like it's a different team entirely. I do admit though, watching them, it did get stagnant. It's like BI has the ball, Zion has the ball, Valanciunas has the ball. It's all like that's the play. And if it doesn't
Right.
work, it doesn't work. Then we'll try someone else next time. It's like that's probably why while I was watching, it's like that's why they lost. It's just because one of them, like Zion, just didn't have it going. Like he would just keep doing the same move, and Rockets were able to stop him. So it's like if he can't do that, then like what is he doing there? They actually took him out for some part of the like toward the end. I remember because he just wasn't like being effective. So.
Right.
So yeah, I'd probably say it's a 4-2 just because I know they don't have a ton of picks either.
Mhm.
I
They
think
got Laker picks.
they got Laker picks, but we're gonna be so good they're not gonna be worth anything. Um, but we're gonna talk about that later. But what I
They
just to
spelled
finish with
New
the
Orleans wrong on the
Pelicans,
wheel.
yeah, I noticed that. Um, but I finish up about the Pelicans, like they're also I think I would also put them with the kind of team like when are they gonna maybe make some moves to like decide who they're gonna kind of keep and who they're gonna try to like
Mm.
you know just the kind of build around, right? Like so
Right.
I think Valanciunas is out probably, and I don't know if you want to like take BI or Zion. I'm probably leaning BI, but
Mm.
it's interesting, and you want Zion's like his stock to go up first, but
That's an interesting point. I think choosing one of the guys and making your team fit around that player rather than we have two guys that are both kind of good, but like we don't really know like in the Mavericks, we know it's the Lucas show, and Kyrie
right,
has been kind of a role player in that aspect, and we'll talk
yeah.
about that, I'm sure. But like Pelicans is like who's the guy? What do we do? How do we play? Yeah, it's very like pickup basketball esque.
Yeah, so panic meter like 4 just because of that reason. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Spin the wheel. Let's see who we got next. It is your turn first, right? Yeah, I
Um
just talked about them first.
yes. All right, Brooklyn
Tell
Nets.
me
Okay.
about the Brooklyn Nets.
So another team I haven't watched a ton of just because I know Cam Johnson was out for a bit, but he's back now. Cam Thomas was playing out of his mind, but he's injured now. And they're just about 500. They're an interesting team because, like we mentioned before the season started, they don't have to. If they lose, like if they're like at the worst in the East, they don't really get any gain from that. So they're like, might as well play to win.
Right.
And they haven't. Nothing about them has really popped out to me. Mikal Bridges is still playing great, but I hear talks that maybe they might be thinking about trading him. Just because like he could probably be a good role player for a contending team, whereas the Nets are not really like that. Um,
Really? I
yeah,
have not heard that.
I read some things a
Per
little bit about
sources.
that. Yeah. I have my sources. Again, like we'll talk about more like legit trade stuff coming like for other teams, but it has been mentioned that I've read. But my panic meter for them is they don't have picks. They have people they could trade away. So maybe it's not also I'm expecting them to kind of be what they are. So maybe like 2, but probably 3, in all honesty.
Yeah, I would say a three as well. I think staying around 500 is relatively expected. They've been competitive. They have even the games they've lost have been pretty close. They haven't really been blown out, but they also haven't really blown anyone out. Like all of their games are relatively close. You mentioned Cam Thomas. The guy was just averaging almost 30 when he went out with an ankle sprain. He'll be out for a couple weeks. Also, Ben Simmons. He's been out a couple games,
Mm.
and I they finally figured out why his nerve irritation in the lower left side of his body. What does that mean? I don't know, but he's missed like the last 4 games.
I hope he's okay. God, that sounds terrible.
He was having a decent season so far, which I was happy he was back out on the court, and now he has some bad stuff happening. Definitely hope he gets better. I think
Yeah.
something I didn't put in the note here, but worth mentioning, I think Spencer Dinwiddie has had a couple good games, which is nice to see. But again, like you mentioned, they don't have their own assets. They have assets from other teams that they acquired from the Harden trade, the KD trade,
Yeah.
um, and the Kyrie trade. So they got that, but other than that, it's like their picks are swaps with the Rockets. So there's no reason for them to tank, like you mentioned. I don't know. It's like a three for me though, because it's like it's kind of whatever. There's not a clear, future, but it's also not horrendous.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
not like next year we have this to look forward to. It's like you might have to kind of deal with this for a bit,
yeah,
unless you kind of trade some things away and you start rebuilding or whatever. But until then they are, they'll be a 500 team about, and put up a good fight and
we
whatnot.
went from having only ones and fives basically in the panic meter to like middle of the pack, middle of the pack, middle of the pack.
Yeah, well, this next one's really gonna blow our minds.
As the wheel is spinning, we don't know. Oh, I
Oh, this
wanna
one, yeah.
I wanna shout out to my coworker and friend Jared, who apparently listens to this podcast from Detroit, fan of the Pistons. Um,
I like
but
the
yeah,
Pistons too.
yeah, he's been listening, so shout out to him.
Shout
Uh,
out.
yeah, the Pistons, they started the season 2-1, and it was like, oh man, look out. Yeah, they're 2-10. They lost 9 straight in a row. It's painful. I think there's a couple of highlights, couple of lowlights. Biggest highlight for me, Asar Thompson. Looks like a rock star out of the draft so far. His defense, his hustle, his motor, his rebounding is like averaging the third most rebounds in the league as a small forward rookie, which is crazy. Um, all that stuff's been there. His jump shot has been horrendous, but that's okay because he does all the other stuff. And I think like the thing they really need on their team is probably shooting, but it's like role player esque. It's like Cade has the ball in his hands. Jaden Ivey's been coming off the bench because like they're not playing well together. They've been starting Killian Hayes instead. Um, and I think they need shooting because their lineup
Yeah.
is like Cade, who's not a great shooter, Killian, who's not a great shooter, Asar, who's a terrible shooter, Isaiah Stewart, who has actually been a pretty good shooter this year for them.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And then
And
Jalen
then
Duren is
Jalen
not
Duren,
a
who's not a
shooter.
shooter. So in 2023 NBA, that's not going to work. I think that's why their offense has been so bad because they just don't have shooters on their team. They have been playing Marcus Sasser off the bench, U of H legend. Second round pick for them this year. He's been pretty good. I'm thinking like start that guy over Killian Hayes. He can shoot. Or, I guess the idea of having Ivy come off the bench is he's more of a ball handler.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's been ups and downs for them. They've been missing Alec Burks. They've been missing Bojan Bogdanovich. They've been missing Joe Harris, I think, as well. Those guys can all shoot relatively well. So when they come back, maybe it looks a little better. Panic wise, I would say probably a two for me. It is expected for the Pistons to be bad. I think I had them at 14. You had them at 13. So this is like, yeah, they're going to be bad. But the reason I'm at a two and not a one is like no one has, aside from Asar and Marcus Sasser, the rookies have been good. None of the other guys have, and Jalen Duren has been awesome.
Yeah.
But now he's injured and out right now. But
Oh man.
none of their other guys have, like Cade hasn't taken a crazy jump. Jaden Ivey hasn't taken a jump. Like some of those guys haven't hit. So that's why it's like a small amount of panic for me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think if Bogdanovich is in the lineup, then they're the best team in the East.
Right. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree with you shooting, but I'm not worried because they do have exciting pieces. Like Cade still is like playmaking well. Jaden Ivey coming off the bench is still playing well. Asar is really fun to watch. I really love watching players hustle like that. So, um, they're a fun team to watch, and they definitely. What I like about them is that they're not playing like to lose. Like I feel like some teams are, like they are, putting up a fight. They're trying to play to win, but with these injuries happening and them being young, it's expected. I do think starting Marcus Sasser over Killian Hayes is a good choice. I don't think Killian Hayes really fits on this team anymore. Like I don't think he has kind of been the odd man out for me for a while.
Right.
Um, so I wish he could get better, but it's been a couple years. So yeah, I would say like a 2 as well, just because I'm not like panicking that they don't have to win right now or anything like, and they have to next year to look forward to. So that's it at 2. I do really want to see them play. I might try to go see them play here in LA. They're one of those teams on my list.
I would love to go to a Rockets Pistons Thompson brother square off.
That would be sick. I want to go root for my boy Jalen Duran. Oh
Now tell me about according to the spelling, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Um
Cavaliers, Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Okay, so yeah, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, they started kind of rough because they were missing Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and then I know Spida missed some games there too. And I think the one thing that's really, at least to me, what I've seen is that Max Strus looks great.
he
For the
he dunked on
Cavs.
somebody today.
Yeah, I saw that highlight when I was watching the game. I forgot who it was. I forgot who they played, but he's playing really well. George Niang is also playing very well as a role players, and they're kind of picking up. They started slow, but everyone's kind of back now. But I don't know if I'm as high on them as I was going into the season. I think I might have had them kind of on a pedestal because in theory they should be really, really good. But I'd probably say though my panic meter is like a 3, just because I feel like they should be playing a little bit better. But and honestly, I haven't watched a ton of their basketball either. So
Yeah, I actually was going to say a 3 as well, and my reasons are a little different. One, I have not seen the offensive jump I think they need from Evan Mobley.
yeah,
I think year 3 he has to take a jump in that regard. His defense is already very proven, but I think he has to be an offensive contributor in order for this team to kind of get to the ceiling that you mentioned. The second reason, Donovan Mitchell is on the last year of his deal. And I don't think Donovan Mitchell likes playing in Cleveland very much because it's Cleveland. He is from New York. I think he wants to go to New York. I think he could leave in this offseason to go to New York. The way you get him to stay is to show that you are a serious contending team and that you're better than that team. And so far they've been fine, but they haven't been like, oh my God, this team is so awesome. Of course I have to stay here. Look how great we are.
yeah.
And of course we mentioned they dealt with injuries at the beginning of the season, but I think if they have a second round exit this year, Donovan Mitchell's out the door, and then that's a person you trade a lot of assets for, and that is definitely something to be panicked about, I think.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't know it was the last year of his deal. I've heard a few rumblings about Knicks, New York Knicks wanting him, but that's been going on for years. So,
Yeah, that's when
do
they
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 really
traded
need
for
a
Brunson instead.
yeah? Do they really need another guard though? Is my question. Anyways, that's a different thing to talk about. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, especially.
We agree with each other on this podcast. This is two-man
We
game.
agree a lot together. This is terrible.
Two guys agreeing.
Oh, whoa, Phoenix
Let's
Suns.
talk about the Suns. Yeah, so as of this moment, as of right now, the Suns, let me look up the record really
They're
quick.
also, just so you know, as of right now, this moment, they are tied with the Jazz.
They're tied
So
with the
you know,
Jazz. I see that. Also, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, still this long into the season, 11, 12 games in the season, haven't had a single game with their big three. Not one. That is insane. They have lost to the Spurs twice, which we talked about last pod. The Lakers twice. Shout out Lakers. 76ers and Thunder, who I think are both relatively good teams. KD has been great, but Beal and Booker have both kind of taken nights off. Not taken nights off, but have been out certain nights, which is insane. I think, a lot of people mentioned their offseason moves. They got a lot of guys from the minimum that I think were good signings, none of which have popped out to me as like stand out, like, oh, this guy is going to be the guy that, the role player, the glue guy that keeps them together. Um, yeah, so far I haven't seen that. I have seen Yusuf Nurkic be a terrible basketball player as predicted. F tier starting center Yusuf Nurkic rather. Um, so I was on the money with that one. So were you. We agreed on that pretty handedly, I think. Um, yeah, I'm a little worried about, playmaking. I think Devin Booker has taken playmaking jumps over the past couple of years, especially with Chris Paul and his team. But aside from that, there's not really a lot of playmaking. It's kind of giving me, 3 years ago Celtics vibes with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, like taking turns with the ball, or Ingram and Zion, like you mentioned for the Pelicans earlier. A little worried about that because I don't see a lot of action that team can run. But my panic meter, my panic meter has to be like a 3. I was debating between 2 and 3 and 4. I'll go 3 because it's in the middle, and it's really just because they're three best players haven't played a game together, and we're already 12 games into the season. Like, you got to see what that looks like before we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I've watched quite a bit of Suns basketball because I did watch the Spurs games that lost and also the Lakers games. So whenever I watch the Suns, they lose. So maybe I should keep watching the Suns.
Suns hater.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't hate the Suns. I just hate Grayson Allen. No, I'm kidding. Oh, well, I was gonna say that the two only besides the big three that I've like when I watch the Suns, Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon are like the best players on the court besides KD or Book if he's playing. I didn't watch Beal play against the Bulls. I my panic is kind of higher. I think I'm at a 4, just
Okay.
because I if they don't get enough time together playing, how are they gonna be that well in the playoffs? That's I'm kind of I'm thinking ahead, like, is that what you want? Like, you want to barely win, like you want to be able to get good positioning and everything. So I just think that the Suns are losing games they should be winning, and they're sitting players that should be playing.
Right.
And I had them as my first seed because I assumed they wouldn't be doing what the Nets did, but they're doing what the Nets did. And how did that turn out for them? It's like I had my my worries when there's three big stars on the team just because of that. And I just don't think it's working. And I would be kind of panicking because they also don't have a lot of assets. Although these guys aren't going to leave anytime soon, I'd still say it's a 4.
There's just no way to really, like, there's not a lot of moves you can make to change this team. This is kind of what you got.
Yeah, exactly. All
Here we go.
right. Oh, let's keep it going. And we're rolling. And we're rolling. We haven't even talked about the
Oh,
two.
it's exciting time.
Yes. Okay, cool. Mavericks. Here we go. Okay. Luka Doncic. I gotta say it again. If you can see this team, Dallas Mavericks play live, go see them play live. He's playing out of his mind.
Your MVP pick, right?
He was one of my top
So
MVP
far,
picks.
that's
So
looking
far,
like a great pick.
looking pretty good. I saw him just that he just overtook Joel Embiid for the second, like in the Kia MVP ladder.
Oh, they
I think
already
it's
have the MVP ladder?
yeah, it's crazy. It's Jokic, Luka, and then Embiid. Which, hey, shout out to Luka. But they've been playing really well. They lost some close games to the Nuggets, but they're very good. They're 9-3 right now. Derek Lively has been looking really good for them as a rookie. Finally, like, they have a center who's not Dwight Powell.
Dwight Powell has gone to the bench.
Yeah,
How
and
can it be?
also it was really cool to see Grant Williams playing really well. And I listened to a podcast earlier today about with shout out to Kenny Beecham,
You've been
the
listening
Kenny
to the
Beecham
Kenny Beecham
podcast.
pod.
Yeah, and did an interview with him, and he just really likes playing in Dallas, loves playing with Luka and Kyrie, and it is so interesting to see that Kyrie has taken like a back seat to Luka, but they're doing well. They're winning games, and it's it's exciting to see. They're also really fun to watch, and my panic meter would probably be like at a 1 right now. I'm not really worried about them right now.
Yeah, I think if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you got to be very happy so far. You mentioned Luca having an MVP-like season. They're 9-3. I don't know if we mentioned that. So one of the best teams in the NBA right now. Their offense is second only to the Pacers, averaging 123 a game. That's super high. Lively, good. Grant Williams, good. Omax Prosper hasn't really played much for them so far, but we'll see. Um, Only thing I'm a little worried about, Derrick Jones Jr. has been starting at the 4 for them. And I don't know if that's good or not. I haven't figured out if I like it in terms of like a small ball. If you're running Luca Kyrie, you know, Grant Williams,
It's-
Derrick Jones Jr. Lively is like, oh, is that enough shooting? I don't know. Um, I know Kleba's been out. They haven't really had him. Powell's to the bench, of course. McGee no longer with the team, so they don't have like a ton of big man options, I guess, aside from those guys. I just don't know like. I think of playoff rotations. I don't think of Derrick Jones Jr. as the starting
Starting four, yeah.
person. Yeah. So that's the only thing that gives me a little pause, but can't argue with the results so far. They've beaten some good teams. They've had, close losses to some good teams. So yeah, I would say a 1 just because I couldn't imagine. I didn't imagine this team having this sort of start. I think
Yeah.
I had them as like the 8 seed or something. Like I thought they were going to be middle of the pack, and so far they've been right at the top.
Yeah, and their schedule hasn't been super tough, but they have been playing good teams, so it's not like they've just been playing like, the Wizards 12 times or anything like that. So yeah, a 1, is that what you said? Panic meter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, let's see what we got next.
Let's keep rolling,
You looking back at the Lakers game?
rolling.
How's it going?
Yeah, it got really close for a second, but now they're back up by 8. Hey, there we go. The team that I'm watching right now. Okay.
The Portland Trailblazers. Let me hear some Trailblazers knowledge, okay? They've lost 5 games in a row. After winning 3 in a row. They're only 3 games of the season they won back to back to back. Scoot has been out for a while. That's probably one of the reasons that they have been losing. But even when he was playing, he wasn't great. I know you mentioned you saw them live and he wasn't great, and I think that's continued. Anthony's been out. We talked about this. He's going to be out for a couple more weeks. Um, Here's the issue with the Blazers. They're starting guys like Skylar Mays and Tumani Kamara, and that's not going to win you basketball games. And those guys aren't like young prospects that you want to see. It's just kind of like fill-in players,
Yeah.
which is weird. I think an exciting thing for them so far is watching Shaden Sharp. He's so fun to watch, so athletic. I know one of the games they won, I believe, was an overtime game against the Grizzlies in which Shaden Sharp blocked like a Desmond Bane 3 to send it into overtime, and he like leaped a crazy amount to do so. So like that's great. Using his athleticism on both ends of the floor. And then, Jeremy Grant's on this team, I guess. DeAndre Ayton exists, I guess. Panic wise, probably like a 2,
Yeah.
maybe a 3. Like mostly because of Scoot's play, that's like one of the guys like that they're building around, and taking them that I feel like the reason they traded Dame is because they were able to draft Scoot at 3, and they're like, okay, this is the next guy for us. He fell to 3. Most people thought he should have went 2, and so far he hasn't played like it. But that could very easily just be adjusting to the NBA level and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm not super worried about the Trailblazers. Because of all these injuries that are going around. And also, I mean, Robert Williams is going to have a surgery. He's out for the rest of the year. Malcolm Brogdon's not playing in this game. He's probably out for something. I mean, he's also
Classic
had
Malcolm
injury.
Brogdon.
Exactly. So it's like, you have Jeremy Grant. It's like, do you capitalize now on trading him and getting some assets back or something? Or do you kind of just keep going with it? I mean, from some games I've watched, like this Lakers game right now, like they're able to keep it competitive, but the thing is they don't like, who are they going to turn to? Like, the Lakers can turn to an AD or a LeBron or a D'Lo or, just somebody that's going to like make shots. Like, who am I going to trust with the Blazers right now is Shaden Sharp.
Skylar
It's
Mays,
like
baby.
Skylar Mays. That's the man. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Yeah, I wish DeAndre Ayton was playing a little bit better, but I think he's still getting his feet wet in Portland. And once they kind of decide what direction they're moving in, it'll look better. I would say
Dominate.
dominating. Exactly. I'd probably say I'm on a panic level like 2, just because like expected them to kind of be like this. Plus, they haven't had their guy play at all really, and the game I saw was his first NBA game, so I'm not going to judge him too harshly. And
Right.
yeah, so
Ugh.
yeah, I'll get 2.
Give it the old two. Those of you listening, we know you're documenting for us what we're saying, so you can come back in the comment and say you're wrong. You thought this team was at a 2 and they're a disaster.
Yeah, like if you think we're wrong, tell us why. I would love to hear why.
Send us personal text messages to our phone numbers about when we're wrong.
Whoa, wait a second.
All right. Next, tell me about the Boston Celtics. Are you panicked on this team?
No, I'm 0, brother. I'm not worried about the Boston Celtics at all. They so just some news thing I thought was really cool. Jason Tatum is one of the top 10 youngest players to ever reach 10,000 points, which is awesome.
Makes a lot of
Very
sense
cool
when
to
you
see.
think about it, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, he's playing great. Definitely like, I think it would be an MVP caliber season, but the fact is like he has other people around him that are also playing so great. It's like I guess they're all like, together why this team is working so well. Drew Holiday and Porzingis look great with the Celtics. They lost to the Sixers and then they beat the Sixers with the Jason Tatum fourth quarter. That was insane. I watched a little bit of that. So, a lot of people were after the Harden trade were like the Sixers are now the team to beat since they beat the Celtics. But it seems like they are kind of even. And that was actually the Celtics beat them without Jaylen Brown playing, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Trade him right now.
There was a funny possession though. It actually kind of worked. They had Drew Holiday guarding Joel Embiid. And you'd think that wouldn't work, but
Well,
it worked really.
Maybe not Joel Embiid, but he can guard bigger guys because he's big.
Yeah, it like worked because he was just like annoying him. You know what I mean? Like, and
Right.
he's good enough where he wasn't drawing fouls. So, I'm not worried about the Celtics. The losses that they have had have been very close, and they're definitely still like I think even with the Sixers doing really well, to me they're still like the best in the East. So I'd be like 0 panic meter.
Yeah, I would say pretty similar for me, a 0 if you can go 0. I think from the Porzingis and Holiday trades have gone about as good as you can think so far. Porzingis, I think it's been like some of the best basketball he's played his whole career. He's been really good. Holiday has fit in nicely, especially I think kind of like we talked about the Clippers earlier. Somebody has to be a role player. I feel like he's been that guy for the Celtics. He's been really just locking in on defense and playmaking. He's not worried about scoring and that stuff really. Um, yeah, they a lot of their wins have been dominant, like they blow out the other teams. And then their losses have been really close, and they're the Sixers and the Wolves, two teams that I think are pretty high regard right now. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. So not worried about this team at all. They haven't done anything that's like, oh, that's weird. How did that happen? I think everything has been very positive for the Celtics. If I had to pick right now, I mentioned I would still pick the Nuggets out of the West. I'd probably still pick the Celtics out of the East.
Yeah. All right.
How many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 more teams. We're almost 2/3 of the way there.
Let's get it.
I just realized this wheel has a timer on the top. This is how long we've been on the wheel. I didn't realize that.
Oh wait, I didn't even notice that either. Well, I have a timer in front of me too, which is funny. Well, this is good. So we just talked about the 76ers. So
Yeah.
Damon, tell me a little bit about the 76ers.
Yeah, 76ers, 8-3. They are doing pretty good. However, like that's record wise. A lot of the teams they've beaten are not good. They beat the Suns, which are a good team, I guess. I don't know. We're a little worried. And they, we mentioned they had a close win over the Celtics, but they have a lot of wins over just some like bad teams. I think their schedule has been pretty easy so far. On the plus side, though, after the Harden trade, Maxey has been awesome. Continued to be awesome. He dropped 50 on the Pacers. I mean, the guy is looking like an all-star for sure. I think if you chose like all NBA teams right now, like Tyrese Maxey is an all NBA level guard. That's how he's playing so far this early into the season. Is that sustainable? I'm not sure. Maybe his teams kind of adjust to this jump he's taking. It kind of comes down to earth a little bit. But like it's not a bad thing that he's playing so awesome. That's for sure. And then the other player that was playing awesome for them was Kelly Oubre. The guy was doing so good, averaged 20 points a game last season for the Hornets, and they just picked him up after like the offseason already happened basically. He's just sitting
Yeah.
there. But unfortunately he was hit by a car, which is terrible. He's had some broken ribs and he was in the hospital. He's out of the hospital now, but his timeline is, very much a question mark, being hit by a car. So that really stinks for them because he was filling in a great role for them so far this season. Panic meter, just to honor Kelly Oubre, I'll go with the 2, just because I'm a little worried about Kelly Oubre getting hit by a car. But
Yeah, shout out Kelly Oubre. We hope you get better soon.
shout out
Two-man
Tsunami
game.
Poppy.
2-man game wishes you well, and I can't wait to see you on an NBA court soon. Yeah, so I've watched quite a bit of Sixers basketball, and they are playing really well. Tyrese Maxey has been super fun to watch. Also, I mean, Robert Covington
He's so fast.
and Nicholas Batum have been, they just were acquired in the Harden trade. And, they're doing what they did in the Clippers. They are chilling by the 3-point line, playing a little bit of defense, making 3-point shots, so a lot easier to plug them in than like a Harden. So
I am the system.
Tobias Harris isn't playing bad. Joel Embiid is playing well. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I think when it comes to comparing with the East, like in the Celtics, it's like the Celtics have so many weapons at their disposal, whereas like, especially with Kelly Oubre out, it's like, who are you after like the Joels and the Tyrese Maxies, and Tobias Harris has an off night, then who are you gonna make? Shake Milton, is he gonna be the guy? It's like, I trust, Drew Holiday or Porzingis.
You mean D'Anthony Melton? This is the second time you've done that in this podcast.
Oh my God, I meant D'Anthony Melton. To me, I apologize. I apologize to Sixers fans. I know Shake Milton is on. Yeah, he's on the Timberwolves. I know. Oh my God, I keep doing that. It's so funny. I think the last name is just so similar to me.
Yeah. It's one letter off.
And I think they're like, their numbers are similar. It's 8 or something. And
it's 8 and Milton is 18.
So yeah, exactly. So yeah, it didn't help. You're not helping me out, Shake and D'Anthony. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Sixers, but I will give them a 2 because, without Kelly Oubre shooting, and, I'm just not sure how sustainable, like you mentioned, they've been playing not that amazing teams, and they have beat, the Celtics and the Pacers, but
yeah, without their best player, Kelly Oubre, I'm a little worried.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not super worried. I give it like a 2.
I think that's fair. We got 10 to go.
All right,
10 to go, and neither of our favorite teams have been selected until
I know.
now.
Until right now.
Wow, perfect timing. And it's your turn.
And it's my turn.
Perfect.
This is perfect.
To talk.
Okay.
Tell me about the Los Angeles Lakers, your second favorite team in LA.
Yeah, how did you know? Okay, so Los Angeles Lakers, I'll start with my panic meter. I'm gonna say it's at 4.
Oh wow.
Although I want to lean toward 3, but I know the Lakers, right? And I've watched them for years and years.
You wanted to say 4. I know my Lakers, but you stopped yourself, which is interesting.
Didn't I say that? What did I say?
You went, I know the Lakers.
Oh, I know my Los Angeles Lakers.
There you go. Take ownership.
The thing about them is that like a lot of these games should be blowout wins. Like looking at their roster, but their injury woes are crazy. The only silver so let me just tell you who's been out. So Jared Vanderbilt has been out since the beginning. Right. Gabe Vincent is now out. He didn't even look that good when he was playing for the Lakers. Is out for a couple weeks. Rui was out for a while. Taurean Prince was out for a while. AD was out for a game. I'm probably missing a few players because I'm not looking at a list. I was trying to do it from memory. But wait, here we go. Yeah, okay. Basically, the injury stuff always happens. This team was formed so LeBron could take a rest. He hasn't been able to rest. That minute restriction thing is kind of out the window since the first game. Right now they're playing the Portland Trailblazers and they keep getting up by 12 and then it becomes a 2-point game. Up by 10 becomes a 3-point game. And that is just what the Lakers, this game should be a 30-point win, right, in theory. And it just isn't. So that's why my panic meter's up, just because of injuries and whatnot. I believe if they were at full strength, it'd be a little bit better. And I'm glad that they are at, I think, 6-5 right now. So they are above 500. Last year took them all season to get above 500, and that was only at the very end. I keep hearing a lot of trade talks about them and Levine, and I don't think that would work at all. I really hope it doesn't
Zach
happen.
Levine.
I like Rui and I like D'Lo for the Lakers. D'Lo has been playing pretty well. Like when he has a stinker of a game, people love to focus on that, but the other games he's pretty good. Like it's not that bad. Um, so like I'm a little panicked about them, but I'm also like this is how it goes every year. So
Yeah.
and we'll find a way somehow to get into the playoffs, and then we'll be good enough. I don't don't know if we're gonna go all the way. Like I never knew if even the beginning of the season, but hopefully, it's all a bunch of new guys too. So they got to find the chemistry to make it work. So, you know, I feel like sometimes they just I don't want to say give up halfway through a game, but they just get lazy, and I hate seeing that. Especially third quarters are just terrible for them. But is there anything you want to add about the Lakers?
Yeah, I was gonna say like a 3 from me in terms of my panic meter. I think you mentioned the LeBron thing. I they literally announced like he's not gonna play that many minutes in the regular season because we're gonna get other guys minutes. We're gonna rest him kind of for the playoffs, and he immediately is just like 38 minutes, just pumping out these huge minute games because no one else is doing it, basically. You mentioned the injuries. The injuries have been bad, of course, and the underperforming I think has been atrocious. Gabe Vincent looking like a awesome player for the Heat in the finals, and then he's been not good on the Lakers. Reeves, I think, has underperformed relative to expectations. I think people were expecting him to take a jump. I know he's mentioned coming off of USA basketball that he doesn't have his legs quite under him still. He's trying to get rested and stuff, so that's fair. Jackson Hayes has been unplayably bad. He has not looked good for them. Um, I think D'Lo has looked better than he did last year. I think Torian Prince has looked good when healthy, and I actually think Christian Wood has been a good acquisition for the Lakers. Surprisingly, him and Anthony Davis in the court together, I think, has worked really well for them. So, I'm excited about that. Yeah, the thing I am most worried about though is the LeBron thing and the kind of what the role players are doing because we talked about the Nuggets earlier, like how their role players are getting this opportunity because Jamal Murray's injury and they're still winning. It's like the
Yeah.
Lakers is like the opposite. Their guys are out and they're falling apart and like no one knows what to do anymore. So, that's what worries me. Um, yeah, I mean, how many more years does LeBron have in the tank as this guy?
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
3 years ago I would have said this is the last year, but here we are again.
Yeah, I also like even for the beginning, like I never really loved the signing of Gabe Vincent, and I know they wanted him over Dennis Schroeder, and I really wish we kept Dennis Schroeder because I liked
Oh
his.
man, he's looked so good for the
Yeah,
Raptors too.
I've always liked him. So it just kind of sucks to see that, but hopefully when he comes back, I just hope he's healthy. Like, and the thing that sucks too is that we're not going to know until they are healthy and playing all together and everyone's healthy. So hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
And the good thing is, I think I mentioned earlier, is that they are 2-0 in the in-season tournament. Probably going to be 3-0 at the end of this. So,
assuming they can
that's
handle
kind
the
of
mighty
cool.
Blazers, we'll see.
Let's see. They are up by 11 right now and
Oh,
missing shots.
time for the Blazers to start making their comeback.
Yeah. Well, Rui just dunked. So there we
I,
go. That
I'm
was
I'm
pretty
looking
cool.
at the teams we have remaining here. We have a lot of polarizing teams still left to go, so I'm
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep it rolling.
excited. All right.
All right. Who's going to be? Who's it going to be? Mine is so laggy. So it's so funny that you could see who it is before. Oh, it's the
From
Thunder. Okay, cool.
from from your actual favorite team to one of my favorite teams. It used to be my favorite team, but
Yeah.
the Thunder. These guys, not panicked about. I'm at a 0. Let me tell you why. They're 8-4 right now, and their schedule has been pretty hard. But they have come out on top of some tough games against some good teams. I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has proved last season was not a fluke. He's been awesome again, top 10 player in the NBA probably. Um, and diving into like the games they've played so far, I think Jalen Williams is having a great second year. A lot of people have surprising rookie years, and then they have a sophomore slump. Not Jalen Williams so far. He has been even better. Chet has looked awesome as a rookie. I think if Wembanyama wasn't so polarizing, he would be a clear rookie of the year front runner right now. Um, he's been very good. Their other rookie, Cason Wallace, has been really good too. He's been a guard on defense for them that I think has had an impact in their winning. I think Dort has been better than I anticipated. I feel like he's he's taken an offensive jump. I think from what I've seen, he's always been a good defender, but I think his shooting this year particularly has been better. He's been inconsistent throughout his career. And then yeah, only thing that's maybe a little concerning is Josh Giddey's kind of the odd man out right now in the starting five, in terms of the fit and all that. But the team has played really well. We both kind of predicted them. I think we both had them at the 7 seed.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So like that's pretty good. Right now I'm like, oh, this team finishes as the 5 seed. Yeah, that's not super surprising. Even better than anticipated so far for me. And I feel like a lot of people were really high in the Thunder, and now I see why. I mean, I agreed, but um, it's better than anticipated, like I said.
Yeah. My panic meter is definitely like at a 1. Most of those games they lost were they didn't have Shea for a few games, and arguably one of those games they lost they should have won because we
Oh
talked about
yes,
it.
you talked
That was
about it last
the
time. Yeah, yeah.
Warriors game, yeah, and yeah, that I'm still I encourage anyone to like look into that and the rules of the game, and it is I just don't like when there are
Send the NBA a
these
letter.
I might there these rules, and then some things just get overlooked because of the teams that are doing these things. And regardless, we're talking about the Thunder, and I'm not panicked about them either. Shea does look great. J-Dub looks great. Dort looks great. Chet is blocking shots, making shots. So yeah, Thunder are really fun to watch too. I just hate their city jersey. But besides that, it's like a 1. Yeah, Josh Giddey, like I think he kind of fits though as like someone in the middle. Like he doesn't have to shine as long as he's rebounding and having assists. Like he doesn't need to be like as long as more as a playmaker role than like a scoring role. I think they're
Right.
totally fine. Yeah, so I'm not worried about them.
But you
Keep
are worried about our
going.
next team.
Oh, I'm super worried about the.
Oh, it's so close. It was so close to a team I'm actually worried about.
It's so laggy because it just now said who it is for me. Like you're like 5 seconds ahead of me. Atlanta Hawks.
Did I
Atlanta
could I
Hawks.
actually take this one first?
I think you and I are gonna have different takes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you want to go first, go first.
Sure. The thing I want to talk about the Hawks, and the reason I wanted to take it first. Did I show you this video? Did I send you this video? Did I tell you
Oh,
about
I
this
saw
video?
it. I
You
saw
saw
it.
it. Okay. Yeah, so the Hawks had a video that was like an OnlyFans type video where they're advertising the in-season tournament with their mascot, the Hawk mascot, like in the mascot costume on the bed, like come to the in-season tournament with like sexy music and stuff. And it said only Hawks fans, but like Hawks was kind of small. So it just said like OnlyFans. And the funniest part about that was DeJounte Murray retweeting it, saying delete this shit in all caps, which I thought was really funny. That's the first problem. My panic meter on that, a 5, just that alone. No, but the rest of the team, they've been inconsistent. They've been up and down. Jalen Johnson, we talked about before, has been good. I think they need to play a Kongwu more than Capella. I think he's kind of becoming a better player than Capella, honestly.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about the last 4 games. Wins over the Bucks, Wolves, Wizards, Pelicans. 2 of those teams are pretty good. Pelicans are kind of bleh. Wizards are
Yeah.
horrible. That's good. They've been kind of coming on recently. I think I was more panicked when the season started, and they were kind of shakily playing. Trae Young wasn't playing great. Their defense was bad. But as of late, they've looked a little better. I would say my panic meter right now. Before it probably would have been like a 4 or 5. Right now, it's probably sitting at a 3, just because I do worry about the ceiling. It's like one of those teams. It's like, oh, yep, this is a clear second round exit team to me, and then that's your ceiling. Then that's not great, and I assume you probably want to be better than that. So I'm going to be at a 3 because I think their ceiling and their direction in the Trae Young era is kind of murky right now.
Yeah, it's like how do with your starting lineup, like how are you expecting to go against like you're comparing Celtics and Sixers and stuff. So first thing I want to say is that I think the OnlyFans video was funny. I don't know why everyone hates it.
It
I
was.
don't
I just don't understand why it happened.
I don't understand why it's such a big deal though. That's what I think is so funny. Like Trae Young and DeJounte Murray just came out like, I didn't know about this. I didn't sanction this. Like no one cares. Like, it's just funny. People are talking about it. Like, that's what matters to them. So like, I get why they did it, and I didn't think it was like weird or anything. I thought it was funny. I saw the reactions before the video, so I thought the video was going to be really bad, but it was so like it was pretty tame in my
Yeah.
opinion. But so zero panic wise about the video. But the Hawks, I was going to say three as well, just because like you mentioned, they have had some pretty good wins. Like they had a close game against the Magic and that they won and beat the Bucks and the Wolves, but it's like can you beat them in a 7 game series is a question, right? And I just don't know. Do think they should play Okongwu over Capella, obviously, at this point. I think will happen some point this season. But besides that, Jalen Johnson looks good, but everyone else is just kind of the same. It's just the same as last year and the year before, it feels like, at least
Yeah.
John Collins isn't there like bogging down like the 4 position. So it's kind of helping them out. But yeah, I'd say just a 3. And at least their city court looks good.
Mid team.
Mid team. We haven't gotten to the 2 teams I want to talk about the most yet, even though I want to talk about our teams.
This right here.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we're not going to talk about it still.
well, I took 2 in a row. I can't take 3 in a row.
Well, I'll just talk a little bit about the Rockets. I'll just talk about so Rockets are playing very well. They're also winning right now against the Clippers, so we'll see if they go on a 7 game win streak. Right now, 6 game win streak. They're in the top 10. Only team in the league right now. It's top 10 offense and defense, which is crazy. The game I went to, Fred VanVleet at the end was him. He like went off and made these 2 threes that just brought them ahead of the Pelicans. And it was interesting to see how well they're playing because you wouldn't expect it. And what's interesting is that they actually beat the Pelicans. Jabari Smith Jr. had a bad game. They were playing Jeff Green over him, and they won. And they beat the Lakers, but they were without AD. And I feel like AD is such an anchor for their defense. Without him on the team on the court, the Lakers just don't play defense, which is just unfortunate. And LeBron can't do everything. Yeah, they, like we mentioned earlier, they barely beat the Nuggets, but they won. And it's cool to see. We definitely didn't expect this going into the season. Is it sustainable? No. But am I worried about the Rockets? No, because they're doing way better than I expected. So it's like a 1. You know what I mean? Like we didn't even get to see. I didn't get to see Amin Thompson play either. So a little unfortunate about that. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Rockets.
The Houston Rockets winners a 6 straight, baby. Started off 0-3, and now we're 6-3. Let's go. We're actually losing the Clippers by 8 right now. But
Well, they're
that's
gonna come
okay.
back and win. Yeah, it's
They're
fine.
gonna come back and win. They're gonna win 7 in a row. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've noticed in the winning and losing of the Rockets games is so obvious to me from the start. Dylan Brooks takes less shots, and we win basketball games. Crazy. What a theory. Yeah, no, I think they've done a good job kind of giving the ball to Fred in clutch time. A big reason we won over the Nuggets is that I think Jalen Green has been pretty good. He's not like ball hogging as much as I feel like was maybe happening in the last couple of years. So he's not scoring as much, but I do think he's playing his role nicely. He actually had 28 in the obliteration of the Lakers. Yeah, without AD, so whatever. And we beat the Kings twice without their best player, De'Aaron Fox. So it's like a lot of these wins have been against meh, you know. Yeah, one of 4 teams, the best, top 10 in defense and offense. I think you mentioned that already. So yeah, I'm very excited about the Rockets. Tari came back from injury. Happy to see he's on the court. Hopefully, Amen comes back soon. My panic meter for them is probably like a 2. I know we're playing better than anticipated, but I just feel like don't have we have a lot of guys still, and this has been a problem for like 5 years. Ever since we traded James Harden, we have too many guys that we don't know who they are or what they do, and we don't play them enough. And like that's kind of an issue because you want to know. And when you have Fred VanVleet now and Dylan Brooks now, taking up so many of those minutes, it's like, are we going to get to that? Something I didn't touch on that I actually really need to touch on Şengün is like the best player on the Rockets. Um, like early in the season, I was like, oh man, I don't know if the Rockets can be like a championship contender with Şengün because like his defense isn't great. His offense is so good. He is like, I'm not exaggerating when I say he's like baby Jokic. Much, 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 much baby Jokic. Like he's not
Yeah.
Jokic level, but in terms of when it comes to running the offense from the center position, it's like Jokic just one, and like Bam is probably two, and then like maybe one or two other guys, and then it's Şengün. Um,
Yeah.
he's been really really good for the Rockets in terms of running the offense in that way. So shout out to Şengün.
Yeah. I also did want two more things I thought about. So you watch the one thing I think that the Rockets, which was interesting, Jock Landale did not play well. So I
Nope,
don't know if that's just like gonna be a thing that he's not playing well. But who did play really well is Jayshawn Tate. He was very good defensively. He did get ejected
naturally.
for something that was ridiculous. I don't even remember what it was. It made no sense. But his defense is very good, so it's very cool to see that from the Rockets.
Houston Rockets, baby, like 4 seed in the West right now. Let's go
All right.
down to the top six. Oh, let's
What's it gonna
let's hear
be?
it. This is
Oh my god, still not the oh my god.
I hope this is the last two teams. That'd be great.
I kind of do too. Yeah, yeah. And that would be so funny because it wasn't even on purpose. Chicago Bulls need to blow it up.
Yep.
Levine, Zach Levine is in now finally trade talks, like the Bulls are open to it and Levine's open to it, so everyone's just kind of like
Have you
talking about where
seen
Levine's gonna go.
it was released today, his three destinations. Have you seen them?
No, what are they?
Miami Heat, Philadelphia 76ers, Los Angeles Lakers.
I think the one I would most like is probably the Heat. I just don't know what they're gonna give what the Heat are gonna give the Bulls for that. You know what I mean?
I think the argument
Like,
is like Tyler Hero and an asset, but like how different are Tyler Hero and Zach LaVine as players?
yeah, and it's also like Zach Levine's worth more than that, though. You know,
Yeah.
I first round pick and a Hero isn't enough for me. Like, I would want more picks at least.
He
And
don't got
Hero,
anything to give them.
that's what I'm saying. And like the Sixers have stuff, but it's like I like their depth right now because you get Levine, then you lose some of the depth. I don't want to focus on that too much, but I also don't like the from the Lakers, which I mentioned earlier. But the Bulls, yeah, they just are underwhelming. I mean, they're losing to teams and they're not playing well. Their future doesn't look great. Panic meter at a 5. They don't have really assets. They're young players. Patrick Williams, I would assume, who aren't like all-star caliber. You know, they're not like the guys if DeMar or Levine are out or whatever. So, you know, it sucks to say, but yeah, it's just, you know, they're not winning good games either is the thing. So I'm definitely panicked about them, but I think once they make more moves and decide to blow it up, everyone will kind of calm down and will like, okay, they're finally going into a rebuild fully and just committing, you know?
Yeah, I hope the panic meter for them is a 5 too, and I hope they decide to take this direction. Trading Zach LaVine, hopefully is a step in that direction. They just extended Vucevic in the offseason. I gave their offseason grade all the way back in episode 2 of this podcast an F because I said, what are we doing here, Chicago? And we're still saying, what are we doing here, Chicago? Yeah, it's just DeRozan, LaVine, Vucevic. It doesn't work. Like it's not a big three that has a high ceiling. I think you're really missing the absence of Lonzo Ball, who we've talked about multiple times on this podcast with his injury. Um, yeah, I think Patrick Williams, Kobe White, those young guys, they don't have the high ceiling to be the guys. So I think could they be role players in the future? Sure, but you need to go ahead and blow it up now so you can start building around whoever that next guy is, before Patrick Williams and Kobe White are, too old, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, they lose against bad teams or they win barely over bad teams that they lose to
Yeah.
every good team basically. So yeah, this is a 5. So my 5 so far have been the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and the Bulls probably. My 3 5s if I remember correctly. I'm like those are the 3 teams that I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Now the final 5. Um, I'm excited. I was so excited about two of them. I think it's the same two you are, especially if it's this one right here.
Oh my God! Finally, okay. So it's not gonna be the last two, but okay.
All right.
I think you can go. You go first.
All right, the Timberwolves, man. I think you had them higher than I did. I had them at like 6. I think you had them at like 4 or something. Um,
Yeah, because they
and
look good
man, oh
preseason.
man, have they been good. They have beat the Warriors, they have beat the Celtics, they beat the Nuggets, they have beat such good teams, and has clearly become the number one option. I think Cat has become kind of a secondary option nicely, which is good. Gobert has returned to kind of Utah Jazz Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert form. He has been awesome. Jaden McDaniels, also Defensive Player of the Year caliber. He has been awesome. I think their defense is number one by a mile right now. Am I panicking about the Wolves? No. If you had asked me this question at the time of the Rudy Gobert trade, I probably would have said 5. But right now,
Yeah,
I'm saying 1. I'm like, I see the vision now. Maybe I was wrong. Uh, and of course, we want to talk about the Gobert Draymond antics. So I'll prelude it a little bit, and then you can kind of get into it. Um, Basically, it's 10 minutes in the first quarter, 0-0 game. I think they're like fighting over a rebound or something, and then Jaden McDaniel starts and Klay Thompson start pulling each other's jerseys as they're going up the court, which is so weird. And then Rudy Gobert walks up and tries to split them apart. He's clearly like trying to diffuse the situation. And as he's doing that, Draymond Green walks up and puts the man in a chokehold. And shout out to Rudy, put his hands up, just going like, nope, I'm not, escalating this. I'm just sitting here in a chokehold. Draymond Green has, since received a 5-game suspension, and the NBA noted a lot of it is due to his past action. And Draymond has, been one of those players like a Patrick Beverly that the dirty play has just become, a narrative around his career. You hate to see that. We still have to talk about that team, so we'll get to that when we get there. But on the Wolves front, they've been really good. I know Draymond and Rudy they've had like beef, like internet beef for like 3 years. I saw like a whole thread about it, which I thought was funny. Like Draymond, one year Rudy didn't get in the All-Star game and like told the media that he cried about it. Like Draymond made fun of him or something about that. He's done stuff like they've gone back and forth for years. And like when the Jordan Poole punch thing happened last year, Rudy Gobert tweeted like insecurity is so loud. And then like when the Rudy Gobert Kyle Anderson thing happened last year, Draymond tweeted insecurity is so loud. And like just silly things. So they've been kind of going back and forth for some years, and this was seemed to be the peak of that. But what are your takes on those antics as well as the just the Timberwolves in general?
yeah. Well, Timberwolves are looking great. I'm very happy to see that they're beating like the really good teams. Like they're beating the Celtics, who were undefeated at the time. That they beat them, and then they also beat the Nuggets too, which was like I think you mentioned in the Nuggets that they said that was like their hardest opponent last postseason. So Anthony Edwards still is proving why he's one of my favorite players to watch, and why he should be the number one option. The I watched the whole antics thing, and it was the ripping of the jersey was like the really like I thought that wasn't the weird part, and then Draymond come with the
I think
headlock.
Jaden McDaniels just hated the Warrior City jerseys just like we did.
Well, that
So.
was yeah. Jaden heard our podcast and said 2-man game rated this an F. And he's like, why is your name below the number on the back? Just ripped it.
Shout
But
out
yeah,
Jared again. He mentioned he thought it was really funny when you were talking about the name being below the number as like a
it does look
determinant
so.
of why
Yeah,
jerseys are bad.
it's okay. We're not talking about jerseys anymore, but thank you for ripping that, Jane McDaniels. But don't do it during an NBA game. Just play the game. Yeah, it was weird because it was literally a minute and a half into the game.
Right.
That was like the funniest part, and so I think who got ejected was Clay, Draymond, and Jaden McDaniels, and they still won. Well, I mean Timberwolves won, but Steph Curry was out as well. But we're gonna talk about the Warriors later. But I'm not worried about the Timberwolves. They're number one. They're looking great. Can't wait to watch more games with them. I would like to see them play live. I'll see if I get that possibility.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, let's see what else we got.
Final four. Final four.
All right.
Spin. I hope we just get the Warriors so we can just.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it should be just Warriors, and
Well,
it's
it's
not
not.
gonna be
It's
Toronto
not.
Raptors. Okay. So you went last time, right? So me.
Mhm.
Okay, so I saw the Raptors play and against the Spurs, and in the beginning they weren't doing very good at all. The Spurs had like an 18-point lead going into halftime, and then they came back and to their credit, they turned it on. Scotty Barnes is playing great basketball. OG Anunoby. Damn, I know I'm not saying it right.
Ananobi.
Ananobi. I know it's simpler than I thought. Is also playing great. I do think the Raptors need to I think trade Pascal and then see and build around Scotty for sure. And
Mhm.
Dennis Schroeder's playing well. I mean, they came back and beat the Spurs in overtime. My panicked about them. I'd say probably a 3 just because a team I just don't know their direction. Are they rebuilding? They're definitely not contending. So it's like make a decision on what team you want to be now. Um but yeah, I saw Grady Dick play and he didn't impress me either. So maybe that wasn't like, not really like something to look forward. Like your pick this year isn't a stud, at least for right now.
For right now. Yeah, I mean he's kind of one of those I feel like as soon as you draft him, he's a role player. Like he's gonna be a shooter for you. That's about it. As far as I understand. But yeah, the Raptors are whatever. That's kind of how I feel about them. I think that I mean I had the same take as I had with the Bulls in the offseason. Blow it up, you're okay, but you're not great. Um Siakam last year of his deal, just like Donovan Mitchell, he's gonna walk away from the team just like Fred VanVleet did. Why not get something out of him that you can use to build around Scotty Barnes? I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I never really understand the Raptors. Like they sign guys like Dennis Schroeder, who has been good for them, but like, why? What's the point? Like, what are you trying to do? Is he going to mentor Malachi Flynn? Like that could be cool, I guess. But yeah, I'm like a 3 on them because they're again like I mentioned earlier with the Bulls, with the Pacers and Wizards of a few years ago. Teams that are just in the middle, and it's like, yeah, you probably should blow this up and rebuild. Like, why aren't you doing that?
Yeah,
It's
it's
kind of
like
the
they
only
don't want to
thing.
commit, which I mean, it is a scary thing to do, right? And to commit to, but it's like it'll be better for your organization in the end. So,
Yeah.
all right, 3 left. What could the next one be? I like how it's going to be pretty obvious which one's, yeah, because it's like, oh, yeah, I got this for a whole bunch.
All right.
Warriors.
All
All right,
right.
so tell me how
The
you
other
really feel
side.
about the Warriors. Tell me how you really feel.
The other side of the
Defend
Gobert
Draymond.
Draymond thing.
Defend Draymond. Defend
I'm
Draymond.
not defending Draymond. You know who does defend Draymond? The Warriors defend Draymond all the
Of course
time.
they do. It's terrible.
I was watching a Steve Kerr interview after the game, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Rudy Gobert like went for Clay's neck. That's why Draymond put him in chokehold." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not what happened actually." But sure. Um, yeah, Steph's been out with the knee issue, and without him, they still can't win, even with Chris Paul and how good he's been off the bench for them. They've lost 5 of their last 6. They started the season off really good. The only win they have over the Pistons, like really bad team. Um, Brandon Podziemski. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. He did really good in that game that everyone got ejected from. So that was nice to see. One of their young guys kind of coming out, showing out.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that from Moody and Kuminga. The guys that have been there for several years now. Haven't seen them kind of break out. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting and still haven't seen that. So I don't really know, what that's going to look like for them come playoff time. Who's going to be in that rotation? I guess that's something they'll kind of figure out as the season goes on. And then lastly, Wiggins not doing so hot this year. I think his defense and his rebounding that he's did the year they won the finals a couple years ago was like awesome, and it's kind of going back to like Timberwolves Andrew Wiggins, where he's not doing those things. He's kind of just a shooter and an offensive player mostly. Panic wise, I'm saying like I'd probably go as high as a 4. They're just doing
Yeah.
so bad lately. And it's the end of an era, the Steph era, and I just don't know like if any of their if Steph, Clay, Draymond, or Chris Paul, any of those guys go out in the playoffs, do they have a shot? Probably not.
Yeah, it's just hard to recover. I mean, so you have Draymond out for a couple games, you have Steph out, and it's like, you don't really have that depth. Like Kuminga's doing what he can, CP3 is doing what he can, but it's like Klay Thompson's not what he used to be. So, I remember, when the season started, everyone was just so hot about, Steph was playing out of his mind, but every game was very close. Like
Mhm.
these were very close games they were winning, and now they're, losing the games because they don't have the players they need. So, I guess like, panic meter wise, like I probably say, did you say 5 or 4?
I said 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 4, just because like I guess they have some interesting young talent. Um, and they will get better. Like they'll have a better record by the end when everybody's back and healthy and whatnot. But it just seems old at this point. Like, and people have like they've been doing the same thing for so many years. Like I feel like it's kind of running out of time.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'd say a 4.
that works for me.
Two more.
The final two.
The two most interesting teams in the NBA. Also an East and a West team. I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bucks. I'll start with my panic meter. I'd probably have to say 4.
Mhm.
I'm going between 3 and 4, but I'll probably say 4 just because, so they did the big trade for Dame. And, individually, they're Giannis and Damian Lillard are playing very well, but you know what they're not doing? Winning games.
Yep.
There's not as many as you'd expect them to. That depth is really killing them. And, I thought Campaign was like a pretty good acquisition, but when I was watching some games without Damian Lillard, like there's no one that can play make for them. Giannis is not a playmaker by any means. He was just like putting the team on his back, and yeah, they win some games that way, but most games they don't win that way. So, you know, um, Giannis was out and Damian Lillard came out and he hooped and they won a game. And I mentioned earlier like they lost a close game to the Pacers without Dame. So it's just I would say it's a 4. It's not a 5 completely because I feel like there is still time for them to kind of make it work. And then playoffs are a totally different time, like they'll both be playing hopefully and healthy and fighting their way through that. But yeah, I'd probably just say a 4. I hope they kind of get better and try to make it work.
Yeah, I was between a 4 and 5 myself. I think 4. I don't think I'm nearly as panicked as the Grizzlies, Clippers,
Right.
those teams, the Bulls. The reason I say 4, there's a couple things. You mentioned the depth issue. The depth issue is huge. They got nobody on that bench that I'm super confident in aside from like Bobby Portis. Um, they've been starting Jay Crowder, Giannis Brook at the 3, 4, 5, Middleton at the 2, and Dame at the 1. Like that's fine, that's fair. But yeah, then you get into Bobby Portis as a 6th man, and then after that, it's just a lot of question marks. One
Yeah.
of which that would be a panic meter 10 in this player alone. Let's talk about the Malik Beasley clip. Oh man.
Oh my God. We didn't even put that in the notes, but that clip is insane. Although he
Uh,
did make like 8 threes yesterday or something. Like,
he,
so it's so funny. Okay, so you broke down the Gobert. Let me break this down.
sure.
So it's a Bucks versus Pacers.
Yeah.
Malik Beasley is basically the perimeter. He's the Milwaukee Bucks best perimeter defender. That is what the coach has said, and he will guard their best perimeter guy for whatever team. So he's guarding Tyrese Halliburton on the 3-point line,
Is that
and
guy good at basketball or?
Tyrese Halliburton is insanely good at
Oh,
basketball,
okay.
but he's not really known to like blow past people or
Sure.
anything. So basically, Tyrese does like a little jab to the left and goes right, and just goes right around Malik Beasley, and Malik Beasley doesn't even like he doesn't even move his
He
head.
doesn't move at all. It's so funny.
He
It's
just
so
stares
good.
straight. Like the best thing I saw is that like his controller batteries died.
Yeah. Like he turned
Starting.
off. It's just like what happened?
Yeah. So like Tyrese Halliburton goes right past him, and then right now he's like 3 feet away. He turns around and goes after. I forgot about that clip. Oh my God,
So
it
good.
was
Look
crazy.
it up
But
if you don't know what we're talking about. It's
it's
so fun.
This Malik Beasley defense is, and it's crazy because he makes threes, but he's
Yeah,
just they don't have that defense. They don't have anyone to guard
they
their
could really
best
use a Drew
players.
Holiday. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and Middleton has been like on a minutes restriction coming off of an injury, so that's a little concerning. Hopefully he gets up to speed. But yeah, definitely panicked, especially seeing how good the Celtics and Sixers have looked so far this year.
Yeah, definitely agree.
I
All
wonder
right, who's it gonna
who
be next? Who's it gonna be next?
there's only one team left, by the way, if you're listening. But we're spinning the wheel anyway for content.
All right, it's our San Antonio Spurs.
The Spurs, yeah, so the Spurs, they had those back-to-back wins against the Suns that we talked about 2 weeks ago in this podcast, and they have not won a game since then. They've lost 6 in a row. Yeah, the team.
Seven today.
Oh, they lost today too. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they've given up an average of 127 points in those losses, which is crazy because Wimby is kind of like known for his defense. Sohan as well, Vassell and all that is like wow. But surprise, surprise, the team with the number 1 overall pick may not be an amazing basketball team. And that's what we're learning. I will say I've been quite impressed with Wimby, especially I know we've both seen him in person now, and the defense is real. I think that it's like a shock factor. It's like people don't understand. I literally watched somebody walk up try to shoot a three, and he just jumped in there and blocked it, and it was like, oh, that person just didn't think that he could do that, but he can because he's so tall. Um, and yeah, his aggressiveness I think has been there, especially the game I saw in person. I've already talked about this, but let me just walk up and shoot threes like it was nobody's business. Hopefully you see him get down in the paint because he's so tall and athletic that he can make some stuff happen there. But the Wimby hype so far, I think he's living up to it as best he can be on a struggling team. I think their team is kind of weird. They're experimenting, which I like. What you want to do with a young team, running like Sohan out at point guard and stuff. But panic wise, I'll say like maybe like a 1. Like I'm not panicked really. I think all of their guys have been fine. I don't think anyone has been like unplayably bad. I think a lot of their pieces have shown flashes. So
Yeah. I think the Spurs future is definitely bright. From what I saw, I didn't see Devin Vassell play, but I know he's been playing very well. Keldon Johnson was playing great when I saw. Who also we haven't really mentioned, but who has been playing really well for the Spurs? Cedi Osman.
Turkish legend.
He seemed like a fan favorite too when I was at the game.
Interesting.
He was just like making great plays, like hustle plays, and he's not flashy, but he's like getting ahead on fast breaks and making the right passes and making the shots when he takes them. So that's cool to see. Wemby is everything you said and more. He's playing great. He's young, so like there are things like he can really use his height to an advantage, but he just hasn't yet. I think he's just still getting used to playing in the NBA, and he can take on. I think I watched him. He was being guarded by De'Aaron Fox, and he like turned his back to him and then traveled because he was like, I can't back this man down. Like I'm not gonna turn around. Like he just he's gonna learn these skill sets. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Spurs. They lost 7 straight. After looking pretty good. And they have been pretty close. Like this one was close. But they have a lot to be excited about for sure. All their young players, and Zach Collins also didn't talk about, but he had a great game today against the Kings, and he's playing very well too. So it's just nice to see after coming back from the injury.
And there you have it. That's our panic meter. How many 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s do we have? I have no idea.
All right, our producer's going to tell us. Oh, right, we don't have one, but if you want to do it for free, let us know.
Yeah, and then I don't have to do it anymore.
Exactly. And just so you know, this is a check. Rockets are up by 6 with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So Rockets are going to win.
Back.
Yeah.
H-Town. Is the Lakers over yet? Did they win already?
Yeah, Lakers won. So panic meter down to 1. We're back, baby. We're back, baby.
We were never worried.
But yeah, that's our panic meter. We're gonna do another episode next week.
What's it going to be about?
I honestly don't even. We're just checking in.
Yeah, we haven't
with some of the
talked about it
teams.
at all, so I don't know.
Yeah, but definitely not all 30 teams.
Not all 30 teams.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, definitely
What
not.
are we
It's
at,
just
like
been
2
a bit.
hours right now?
Yeah, we're at 2 hours, 3 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the 2-hour
Respectable.
cap was broken, but
Yeah.
or is it an
okay.
hour and a half cap? What is the cap? What is the cap supposed to be?
An hour and a half, but it's okay.
We
It is what
we
it
never
is.
do that. Oh my
Yeah, at least
God.
it's Friday. You know, I can take a little break and whatnot, but
Sure.
it's just fun talking basketball. There's a lot has happened. So
A lot,
if there's anything you think our takes are wrong or you agree with us, like let us know.
if you think Dom is smarter than me, please let me know. If you think I'm smarter than Dom, you're wrong.
Please.
Change your opinion.
Well, it's because you sound smarter. And I try to sound smarter, but I can't. So we're pretty equal, I'd say.
Yeah,
But,
let us know who you're panicked about.
And tell us who you like more, me or Damon.
And then tell us why it's Dom.
And then tell me why it's always Damon, always will be. But yeah, tell us what teams you're excited about and what other teams should be doing. Where should Zach LaVine go? And we'll talk about that.
Tell us what you want us to do next episode. Give us
give us some ideas.
Yeah,
we're open.
Tell us. We're gonna talk about why the Clippers are 0-10 since the James Harden trade next time.
And I cannot wait. I am ecstatic at
my
that.
panic meter on the Clippers is 1 because I want this to happen.
I always knew this is what was meant to happen. But yeah, thanks again for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you again next week. We have the last shot.
I've been so bad on these lately.
I also missed it. It's harder than you think.
It's harder than you think. It's really the lining it up and angling it when you can't actually see is difficult.
Yeah. It's also like mirrored.
Nope. It's like that. Where did that go? I have no idea.
It's like, why would it go that way? But yeah, again, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on D&D's.
Do you know what this is? Wait, do you know what this is? Right here. This pile right here.
I can't see a pile. There's laundry.
You don't see that in my closet in front of my dresser? Does it just look black to you?
Yeah.
It's brown. It's my Bigfoot onesie.
Oh yeah, it looks. I don't see anything there.
Sorry, you said D&D's. The show is not called D&D's anything.
It's 2-man game with Damon and Dom.
Buckets.